You just hope, you just hope.
I know you're gonna need a bigger meeting room soon.
Hey, something happened in front of the ambulance, the old ambulance.
Yeah, motorcycle accident.
Okay.
No, but I can't believe it wasn't.
Oh.
Is that today?
No,
Why do you, last night, why do you crash there? It wasn't at the intersection. Oh, was it at Tanglewood?
No, it was up at Walmart. He drove right into the side of the car turning and drove his bike right through it and hit the car and flew back.
And went further down, because the vehicles were further down than
Yeah,
Wow.
no.
So I just came out to the stop sign, made a right, and then took Weaversville because I was going to work.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh wow, look at all these kids.
No, he was motorcycle.
I was in the Mustang because I looked at the weather thing and it said it was going to rain. And it never did. That pisses me off. I take the car, it doesn't rain going in, I leave in the morning and there's no rain. I'm like, no, what the frick is a weather report for if it doesn't help?
Passed me the other day, I was going, I saw a motorcycle going from Walmart on 329. I know that bike.
Usually the music's so loud that I really don't see people.
I never see anything followed up on
I
it.
have that old person thing when the music's loud, I don't see anything. That's why the cars nowadays, when you put them in reverse, it turns the radio down.
I hate that.
Ready on the right?
Ready on the left? Yo. Call the meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
roll call, please.
Mr. Collins?
Here.
Mr. Cruz?
Here.
Ms. Hunsinger?
Here.
Mr. Schwartz?
Present.
Mr. Unix?
Here. All right. We have one set of minutes to approve, July 23rd or 26th. Which is it?
23rd.
23rd.
23rd. Okay.
Make a motion to approve consent.
Motion is made by Mark, seconded by Chris. Any changes, questions, comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Mr. Cruz?
Yes.
Ms. Hunsinger? Yes. Mr. Schwartz?
Yes.
Mr. Unix?
Here. Motion carried. All right, we have two public comment periods. One's in the beginning of the meeting, one's in the end of the meeting. The first public comment portion that we're going into only deals with agenda items. So if you have a public comment dealing with an agenda item, now would be your time. At the end of the meeting, then you can talk about whatever you want to talk about. So, we're now in public comment. Do we have any public comment? Yes, sir.
My name is Chuck Althauser, and I'm the current Executive Board President of Regency at Creekside Meadows. And I want to comment about the application of the letter requesting that the security posted by Toll LP LLC be released relative to the completion of the project in which we live. As I believe you all received the letter and package that we sent. Is that correct or not?
I did not.
Oh, you did not? Okay. No, she's got, Angela's got copies of what we sent. We emailed it, so it should have come in your packet, but apparently did not. Anyhow, I've got the letter here that I wrote, and I can read it if you like, or she can make copies for you and you can read it later. The thrust of it is that we think it's premature for any release of the bonds to be made until after Hanover Engineering has given its recommendation as to the amount based upon what is unfinished in our community. As the letter will spell out and the material that was sent with it will show, there are a number of areas of work that Toll has not completed, the most significant of which is the incomplete establishment that the ponds or basins, we have a water retention system, are adequately holding water. As Mr. Forte's report will show, which is again part of our submission, the basins are staying right at about 4.1 to 4.6 feet, and they should, as designed, be over 5 feet. We have never seen it over 5 feet. We have fountains installed by Toll, part of their contract arrangement, we can't use because the water level is so low, the algae is plugging the ponds. We don't know where the water's going. As you know, we've had recent rainstorms of great, really obvious significance. 4 inches fill and in our rain gauges, and yet the ponds maybe went up 5 or 6 inches. All the water in our community that's drained down the streets goes to the ponds. We have water coming off of 512 from the southeast corner into those ponds. We have water that is supposed to come from the adjacent fields into those ponds. That was part of the design. But we're not getting the water level that would indicate that the ponds are holding water as they were designed. That's a great concern to our community. As my letter indicates, we also have currently an existing sinkhole that's being repaired. In fact, today they put in the slurry that apparently brought it to closure. There have been 4 or 5, let's see, I think the number may be 5, and my letter I think will reflect that. Sinkholes in our community. As you may know, that's an area where sinkholes are common. And so the mystery about where this water is going into our basins is of serious concern. That could be a huge expense, depending on what the problem is, until we know. So to suggest now that all of Toll's security should be released is a big shock to us. Now, I'll be honest with you, I spoke with one of the senior vice presidents about 2 months ago or a month and a half ago. And he said, yeah, we're going to make a request. And we asked, well, how much? Well, we always ask for everything. Well, of course, in our view, that's ridiculous. It's premature to even consider a total release of their bonds. As you'll see in my letter, I also cite to a part of the section in the Planned Community Act that states that if the developer deeds the property to the association prior to completion of all the improvements, the developer should provide security to the association until those improvements are completed. That didn't happen. Partly because perhaps it wasn't included in the declaration itself, which the Act says it should have been, but also Toll probably found it inconvenient. I don't know what. But I brought that to their attention about 1.5 years ago, and their response was, talk to your attorney. So the point that I'm making with that remark is that that's why it's important to us. Because every dollar that Toll does not spend in completing the work they're obligated to work is money that our 232 unit owners have to come up with. We have collected consistently and faithfully from our unit owners monies to create a reserve account. In the last couple of months, we finally passed $1 million, which is a great achievement for a small community like we have. That money, though, is scheduled out 30-odd years to replace roads, repair stormwater issues, manage and maintain and repair all the amenities in our community, the clubhouse, pool, what have you. It's not made for repairing a pond within years after completion of the project. Until we know what that problem is, we urge you to not release any money. And frankly, I think until Toll comes up with a solution and demonstrates that the pond has the capacity to hold water, which they've mentioned they might do, no action should be taken releasing any of the bond money. Now, how would Toll test it, by the way? Just for your information, that was a part of the aside, was they said that they could purchase water from the city of Bethlehem to raise the level to a point where they could test to see that it was holding water. That's about a $50,000 cost. It hasn't happened. So until we either see that level get above 5 feet, it's designed to go to 7 and pump down to 6. We haven't seen it above 5 yet. Until we see it above 5, we're very nervous about this whole situation. In addition to that, there are some other collateral issues or less serious issues that they haven't resolved. We have street valves or water shut-off valves that extend out above the grade 3 to 4 inches that are hazards for mowing and for just pedestrians. There's grading and filling material or locations within the community that are incomplete. We have issues with drainage. In one section we can't even mow because it's too steep. So, I mean, these aren't terrible issues. These are issues that, yeah, we can solve them, but they're going to cost money. And we don't want to spend our money doing Toll's job. That's the bottom line. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we get a copy of that letter?
You just were emailed it.
We just got an email.
You emailed it.
Is it on here?
Yeah.
Good evening, Kate Durso here on behalf of Toll Brothers. We are in receipt of the Township Engineers letters that were issued today confirming the release of the money subject to the conditions enumerated in those letters, and we have no objection to the conditions that are enumerated in the letters. The Township Engineer did the required inspections, the required follow-up based on the request of Toll for the reduction of the security. As it relates to the stormwater, the Toll is in the process of completing its NOT and has been in direct contact with the Conservation District. The letters from your township engineer requires a certificate from the design engineers for the irrigation as well as the stormwater ponding, or excuse me, stormwater ponds, and they are listed as conditions of the release of the monies, and they would be satisfied as required.
What's an NOG?
Oh, sorry, it's basically the closeout of your MPDES permit.
Notice of termination.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead.
Hello, excuse me, my name's Tom Long. I live at 6224 Grouse Drive. I'm on the Planning Commission, but I'm speaking for myself, not for the commission. I'm here to urge the supervisors to support the elderly housing overlay. I think that's a great addition to the community. Frankly, it'd be something I would be interested in moving in 10 or 12 or 15 years myself. As we just heard, what kind of issues can arise by moving to a 55-plus community with a homeowners association, a condominium, and et cetera. I think the use of that land is a need for certainly for the Lehigh Valley, but even for the residents of the township. There's quite a few retired people in the township. It's very difficult to downsize. If you've ever looked into it, you have to sell your house first, you have to come up with money for a down payment, you might have to liquidate IRAs, 401ks, and get into higher tax brackets. I think the option to have a 50, or whatever it is, 62-plus community, whatever it is, to rent instead of to buy would be a wonderful thing for the township. So I urge you to support it. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'm Jeff Hudwelker, 7014 Pond Way, Bath. I'm in the Rackham community, and respectfully, the NOT has nothing to do with the leakage problems that we have with our detention ponds. This is something that wasn't even brought up by the engineer, but believe me, I've been participating in tracking the water level in the basins, and it never gets above the 4.6 feet. It never has. And we have enough rain, we have enough runoff that we should have more than enough water in those ponds, and we don't. And it just never gets any higher. So there's obviously a leak somewhere, or something that's wrong in the underground piping that is not allowing the water to get from the 100 acres. We're draining 100 acres here into those detention ponds. We should have a plethora of water there, and we never do. In fact, most of the water that we get in the ponds comes from the rain just dropping directly onto the ponds. It's not draining in as it should. And we've identified this with Toll for the 4 years that I've lived here, and they have tried to solve the problem, but it just hasn't happened. So we've asked them to have their engineers look at it, who designed it, to make sure that, you know, what the runoff is supposed to be, but they've never disclosed that to us. So I fully back up what Chuck was saying, that you should not be releasing any money here, because this is a potentially big problem with the karst formations that we have in this area. We could have water potentially leaking out of the basin and going underground and scrubbing off the rock and possibly causing a sinkhole. And that would be catastrophic for our ponds. So that's what we're really worried about here. And we need to get some answers from Toll before we accept this community. It's the biggest problem we have right now. So I hope you will consider this seriously. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, thank you. Oh,
Lori Schwab, 7010 Pondway. I too live in the Toll Brother community, Regency at Creekside Meadows. My property is directly right up to the pond. And I welcome any of you to do a drive-by. If you currently look at the pond, it is full of algae. It has been for several weeks, and this can create like an algae bloom, which can be turned toxic. We have the low levels, and like my other neighbors here had said, there is a leak. There's a leak somewhere. It must be addressed. It's never retaining water. My husband goes out there every day. He tells me he can see the head walls, it rains, the head walls are down. It rains, the head walls go down. So it is constantly leaking. And before any funds are released, this is something that has to get corrected, just for the health of the ponds and the community at large. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more public comment? Thank you. We're going to move into checks to be approved. So do we have a motion to approve checks 4916 to 4981 totaling $197 or $1,670? Start over. $197,670.20.
So moved. Second.
Motion is made by Chris, seconded by Mark. Questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Mr. Cruz?
Yes.
Ms. Hunsinger?
Yes.
Mr. Schwartz?
Yes.
Mr. Unick?
Yes, motion carried. Now we're looking for a recommendation for checks number 63 to 65 for the fire fund, totaling $1,043.30.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion was made by Chris, seconded by Lou. Questions? Roll call.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Mr. Cruz?
Yes.
Ms. Hunsinger?
Yes.
Mr. Schwartz?
Yes.
Mr. Unick?
Yes, motion carried. Okay, supervisor's business, I'll turn it over to Brent.
All right, item number 1 that you have before you is the consideration of an elderly housing overlay. It's for a zoning ordinance and map amendment for 6500 Hanoverville Road. We have representatives here that can give an overview of the project, but they have been before the board previously. They are asking for a landowner zoning amendment, which the board was inclined to let them move forward with the review of the draft ordinance. So it went to Planning Commission, I want to say in July. They gave a favorable recommendation to proceed with a public hearing. So I will let them go over the project, and then we do have some stuff we would like to discuss on, if you are inclined to move forward with this, how we move forward with the current zoning ordinance going and moving forward at the same time. You guys have the floor.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Joel Weiner. I'm an attorney in Allentown. I'm here to represent Airport Road Development. I'm joined tonight by my left, your right, Mr. Bill Erdman of Keystone Engineering and Mr. Gene Berg right next to me from Gauck Engineering. We're here tonight on behalf of Airport Road Partners LP. It's the owner of 6500 Hanoverville Road, tax parcel M5-5-1-0508. It's a tract of approximately 15 3/4 acres located in the southeasterly corner of the intersection of Airport Road and Hanoverville Road. It sits just north of the township line separating it from Hanover Township. The area is currently zoned PC2. Our request that's being made to you is consideration of the EH housing overlay. It has changed somewhat since it was before you. There's been a lot of input from the Planning Commission, from staff that we've gone back. The fire department had some constructive ideas about how they would fight a fire, what they'd like to see in the facility. Also moving cars, or how vehicles would move. Some items such as a walkway, different flow around the property, all of which was considered, came back to the ordinance, along with a plan identifying what the development could look like if this overlay district was put in the ordinance as requested. The request we're making is in the nature of having this go forward to create a rental residential age-restricted community, and that would be the intent of this EH housing district. It differs from your AQRC zoning by the fact that it is not, the town is as obviously I wasn't expecting to hear tonight as much about the senior townhome community, but that's more of a individual homes or attached homes, et cetera. This is to be in the nature of apartment-type living. It is rental community, so you don't have to sell your house, put all that money into a new facility, and then have your kids who didn't turn 55 go, thanks a lot, now I have to sell it to get any inheritance. The goal is that there are a lot of people who economically, family-wise, et cetera, it does not make sense to be buyers. It also lets certain of the city, as people who from the township could move in, the younger people could have their parents come to live near them in a rental community, which is what the goal of this would be. The proposal will need, and it's an important part of this, it's going to need public sewer. You have to have some place for the sewage to go in this type of property. That will require that Hanover Township grant permission for the sewage to flow through Hanover to City of Bethlehem. As we ask you to consider tonight allowing us to move forward advertisement, we'd also ask you generally if you were inclined to move this forward, if you could authorize Mr. Green to at least start the inquiry process with Hanover Township about getting sewage flow for this project. That probably will be its own lengthy period, and we have been informed that you also do have a overall zoning code revision being planned. But we would ask, even if you're going to need to figure out how to work us in with your new zoning code, if there could be an indication whether this is something that you're inclined to move forward or if it's something that the board isn't inclined to move forward. So for all of our parts, we don't spend a lot of time on something you're not inclined to do and either waste our money, waste your time to consider something that you may not have any interest in. More specifically, Gene Berg is next to me, can give a quick overview. Again, try to be very quick because I know you've a big agenda ahead of you and sounds like a lot of testimony to go through.
So our elderly housing conditional use, we've established it as a conditional use, number 26, as a text amendment that follows the format of your existing AQRC, your age qualified residential community section in your ordinance, and will be 62 years and older, identical to the AQRC following federal guidelines. Note that the demographic of East Allen Township is aging, and the most recent Township Comprehensive Plan acknowledged the need for a diversity of elderly housing types, including affordable, age-restricted rental communities of multifamily housing. Our elderly housing overlay strives to satisfy that demand. We've adopted a lot of the amenities, the requirements of the AQRC, including 50-foot wide earth berm, landscape buffers around the perimeter of the site, 100-foot wide adjacent to arterial streets. We've reduced the minimum acre lot size to 15 acres, and we've also increased the amount of open space as compared to the AQRC to be a 50% minimum open space. We have a higher density of 7.5 units per acre, although we've reduced that twice since we've come before the township. It started out at 10, moved it to 8, now it's 7.5. And this latest plan that you have before you today, we've reduced the number of units, -1 in each of the 4 apartments, so that we have a total of 116 units. We're at 3 stories tall for the apartment height, 40 feet tall maximum. We are matching parking requirements of the AQRC. As Joel mentioned, for the fire chief's request, we have fire apparatus staging areas that wrap one outside corner of each apartment building with no trees and a reduced 6-foot paving setback to the building, so the firefighters can reach with their aerial equipment basket to easily access egress windows and corridor egress windows. And from a site-specific standpoint, 67.5% of our site's area is open space and a quad between the apartments and the earth-bermed green landscape perimeter buffer park. And the perimeter park has 0.6 miles of walking trails, park benches, picnic tables, community garden, a playground. We'll be providing curbs and sidewalk along Hanover Road. At the busy arterial airport road, internal public walkways are spaced away from the dangerous traffic. We have the apartments arranged in the quad of the central common recreation and amenity open space have an encircling parking lot. And this way the residents can walk from their apartments directly to all the amenities in the middle without needing to drive their cars. In the center, central amenities are clubhouse, pool, patio, pickleball court, pergolas, grass, and trees. And for the benefit of the adjacent single-family residential subdivision, we have a 20-foot wide emergency access road providing a second fire truck access to the cul-de-sac. And our site already has 2 emergency accesses. In your packages tonight, note that there's an introductory letter. Then there is the bullet points, which I've just reviewed. We have excerpts from your comprehensive plan that show the reasons why you should support this amendment. Then we have our amendment itself, which is ultimately the text of the AQRC, and any place that we revise something from the AQRC, it's in red. Then you have our sketch site plan, which is a fold-out, and then the last section of your package is actually the AQRC with strike-throughs, so you can compare how our text is different from the AQRC text.
I think we'd like to thank Mr. Long in his capacity as on the Planning Commission, the other members of the commission, also your staff for working with us and helping come up, as we point out, different ideas, try to come in with something that does seem to meet the needs of everybody, and it's still a financially feasible project, that it could be built and it could sustain itself, not that we have something that's just pie in the sky or that would never be affordable for everybody. Thank you.
And if I could just comment on 3 things, I wanted to draw attention. The thing that Gene just referred to, I asked her to take a look at this. This shows that this proposal is totally consistent with the zoning ordinance and the comprehensive plan. It meets all the needs of the elderly, and as was mentioned earlier, the downsizing is not a reality in this market. The second one is, although we've not got into the detail of, there's been some preliminary evaluation of traffic, we don't anticipate any problems getting approval from PennDOT. And the last thing I'd like to touch on, primarily for Brent's benefit, we're stymied right now in terms of the sewer capacity. We have some thoughts internally within Keystone of ways that we could possibly increase capacity downstream. The trouble is we're stymied from even talking about it because of the position of the township. So if there's any way that we can get that door open to allow those discussions, I would get together with the township engineer in Hanover and start talking about some options to provide the capacity we would need for our project and perhaps even more. So we're kind of stuck right now, even though we know that's a major issue. We can't move forward because of the directive that came out of the Hanover Township. So if we can kind of crack that door open to allow those discussions to proceed, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
Brent, you said there's
Yeah,
options.
so right now, as you may be aware, we have our draft ordinance for comprehensively moving forward in a new direction with our zoning ordinance. That's part of the implementation agreement we have as part of the River Central Regional Comp Plan. So one of the goals of that plan was to bring our zoning consistent with the land uses of the region, put uses where they should belong, where there's adequate infrastructure, kind of shift things around. So we are at the point where either tonight or within the next couple of weeks, we may be getting too close to move forward on a draft zoning ordinance and having a hearing. So with that, once we adopt the new ordinance, if you move forward with the current draft, it will not coincide with the proposed ordinance because it is totally different in how it's compiled. So the section 26 of conditional uses is now really removed. It would move to the specific criteria section of the draft ordinance that we have prepared. So one of the thoughts that we had, if you were inclined to move forward with this use, we could do it in 2 ways. The first is we move forward with the current draft. We have the public hearing. They come in and they have their amendment after we do the whole ordinance. The other part of that, we thought to kind of incorporate them into the current draft. We could incorporate them in, have the public hearing, but then also bifurcate the section. So how we normally handle a map amendment is we have to notify the landowners. You don't have to do that on a new ordinance, but we would have the notification go through and have them do their own public presentation or public hearing in addition to what we have to do under our current draft zoning ordinance, if you were inclined to do that. So you really have 2 options. It's either have them wait or go out and incorporate that into the current draft, which would not be hard to do with what they're proposing. We currently have the age qualified that they have submitted. We would basically just be saying, okay, this is another use for elderly housing, apartment buildings, or whatever we want to call that use, and come up with a definition. Either way would be fine. It's just really a matter of, they've been working at this for several months now. So if you're inclined to move forward, you have two options on doing that. Now they've mentioned they have the public sewer. I don't know if the board truly remembers when they came in and did their study. We got a response from Hanover, and the extent was basically, please cease communicating with us and asking us for any future needs, as public sewer through any community adjacent to us is not our issue. So there is a dilemma or predicament with any uses, even with the new zoning ordinance, where public sewer is allowed and it could convey to the city of Bethlehem. So that is a concern of staff as well, and concern of the applicant, where they've been trying to work through this. We've always held that public sewer expansion falls under our purview. If we don't want to see it, we don't allow for the zoning use. In this case, you may want to see it, but they don't have it. So we would have to either support that, or they try to make efforts on public sewer with Hanover.
So when is that comprehensive plan going to be finished?
So it's done now. The draft was emailed and distributed out. I was going to go over some of the concepts of the plan today, and it's more of a discussion of where you guys want to go and what are the next steps.
It's
So
sort
that's
of an
a-
emergency road for the fire.
So the emergency road came about, that's really because of the subdivision in Hanover Township, and it was a requirement from Hanover. It wasn't a requirement from East Allen. So because they have a longer road with a cul-de-sac, Hanover Township, as part of their major subdivision for the new homes being built, required them to have an emergency access road. So if you go in Hanoverville now, you will see that road's cut in and it comes all the way out to Hanoverville Road. If they develop, they have to reincorporate in their site that emergency access road that it makes sense. So that would be part of their subdivision land development, as well as working with Hanover to make sure it's adequately addressing the conditions of their plan approval.
That would be just for emergencies.
Correct. It has a gate. There's Knox boxes for both communities that we could use it, but it's not going to be open to the public. It's not a thoroughfare. It's locked, but it's mainly for responders going to Hanover than Hanover coming out to us.
And we have no problem with that. We'll work through those details if we get to that point.
Wouldn't it be smarter, just thinking out loud, working this right into the comp plan now than having two different?
I would prefer, I was gonna ask, in your utopian world,
You'd approve it tonight, Liz, go Bills.
okay, let's be realistic here.
Sorry, I'm sorry. You're next.
No, that's fine. I'm trying to figure time frames. Which would be of your choice?
This is where I'm at. I don't know, I mean, there is, in one regard, we don't do, in one regard, if we go ourselves to amend an ordinance that's about to be knocked out, about to be replaced, it's kind of a waste, a little bit of a waste in that regard, and it makes sense to be part of putting it in the new procedure. The only question will be whether you are in fact ready to go with the new zoning ordinance, and whether that will get tied up by, again, because you're part of this multi-municipal ordinance, which I have to defer to your solicitor. I'm not really sure how it all works together, but you know, if it's a function where it's just you who are in control of your own ordinance, that's good. You can pretty much know what it's going to take you. But if you have to get input from your other neighbors, then okay. Mr. Cruz shaking his head no, so that solves one of my concerns.
One of the things, and just thinking about this, if they come in with an amendment, we have to make notification to the other communities that we have a potential zoning amendment. If it's part of the ordinance, it's part of the ordinance. All we're doing is giving a draft of the complete ordinance. We're not really looking at it at that level of, here you go, this is what's going to happen on this site. Because there's currently things in the current draft ordinance where if it's so many trips, if it's so many square feet, if it's so many dwelling units, that there's a notification or it's a use of regional significance that the LVPC has called it. So we would have to notify as the community of development those people. The LVPC is going to do that when they submit their draft. With how they do it, they're going to notify everybody on the whole eastern Northampton County and the lower section of Lehigh County, and everybody's going to know what they're doing with their project of significance. So if you do it, that it's part of the ordinance, it's easier for the staff to incorporate that, but it also may limit, if there's people in the public that are concerned about it, that it could potentially take away from that public opportunity. I'm not saying there is. I don't think we've had any negative comments. There's really no adjacent property owners other than the homes being built.
But at the same time, when we have the public meeting on the adoption of the overall ordinance, if we wanted to put something special out on the website that particularly points out this section of the new
Correct.
ordinance, and anybody that's interested would appear, they would have the opportunity to speak at that time.
Good point.
I know I got an email or two from people that lived over in a different township, but I didn't respond to it, you know what I mean?
Well, that could have been
One of the
from,
meetings saying that, they didn't really want it, but that's not our township, it was a different township.
well, and was it as part of this use, or was it part of the other use that's being?
This use.
Okay, because the other use is a permitted by right use in the zoning
Right.
district that they're in, so, and that is a gas station
I
with.
just told her to call the township because, I'm not responding to anything.
Yeah, I
And
don't know.
that,
did we
that, Ms.
get-
Hunsicker, that is there's a proposed use as a service station, convenience store with
Right.
fuel, which is a function of Hanover not allowing sewage.
Right.
And if you have to maintain your storm sewer and have on-lot septic, you're limited in what fits on that property in that configuration with the water, with what drains there. So that is the one that, yes, did get a big neighborhood turnout that evening. This one has not gotten anywhere near that. It's not, I don't even think there's been anybody at any
I
of the
don't think anyone
turnouts.
came to the meeting, which
No.
I was surprised too.
This is, all they have to do is Hanover just has to get their supervisors to suggest zoning, to get sewage, which would make life a lot simpler. But the other project is a function of when you must deal with stormwater and sewage on site, there's not a whole lot you can build there. So, yeah, those are two different items. But again, I think that in terms of it, if there would be an indication of which way if you would be able to indicate you'd be willing to go forward and could authorize the township staff to start to at least allow the township, or if you could authorize township engineer and staff to work with Mr. Erdman, try to see if sewage could come about as we go through the process, that would be greatly appreciated, so that they could basically the sewage efforts could go at the same time as seeking the zoning, this change to add to your zoning.
But you realize that even if we do that and Hanover still says no, then this is a moot point because we can't make another township do something.
Oh, I understand that,
Okay.
but right now I'm being
Right.
told, Mr. Attia's again, he is of the opinion, and I don't know whether he's told or whatever, it has been told to us that he is of the opinion that they are not willing to entertain anything till they know that it's more than a dream to put up EH housing.
Right.
If there's an indication EH housing is going to go forward, now there's a viable need for sewage that now has to be addressed in that manner. So that's where, again, at the end of the day, yes, I know that this board cannot direct what it thinks another
Right.
township should do.
I had a question about the sidewalks, because I know the one on the other side had sidewalks all the way up and around, but you have like 3/10 of a something for
Two-tenths of a
sidewalks
mile.
on
Well,
Hanover?
the sidewalks are all along Hanover Village
Okay.
Road, yes. But along Airport Road, we've provided walkways that are internal to the site because traffic is heavy at that location and it's dangerous to have
Yeah, it really is dangerous.
the sidewalks directly adjacent to that traffic flow. So instead, we'll have easements on our property that the public can walk on our walking trails through our park. our
We
perimeter
just don't
park.
want another sidewalk to nowhere, you know what I mean?
Right.
So if it's-
And all of those sidewalks and walking trails tie in with the crosswalks, which are already striped across the intersection Airport Road and Hanoverville Road. So local residents, in the other communities of Hanover Township can walk the whole perimeter of our site, cross the street, cross up the intersection and head on towards Bicentennial Park.
Cross Airport Road.
There's a stop, there's a stoplight.
There's a crosswalk.
There's a crosswalk.
Up to you if you want to use it.
There's a
No,
stoplight.
Nobody stops
Like
for the red light
driving on
anymore
it.
there either.
Yeah.
Okay, so I do have a question for our staff. All it takes for us to do is give a nod and we can set up a hearing for the new plan. How long would it take to incorporate them into that though?
Into the new ordinance?
It
Yes.
would,
I mean, I don't think it takes long to incorporate it.
the only thing that really changes on their current draft is where they have section 26, we would just go out and make that the beginning of our elderly housing.
I
So,
think the bigger issue is, has the Board of Supervisors has sufficient time in just receiving some of the revisions today, the most recent revisions? Have you had the time to adequately review that? I think if there's going to be any action taken, it simply ought to be to authorize the staff to work with the applicant to put the ordinance in a final form for presentation to the Board of Supervisors to then be incorporated in the draft of the new ordinance. Brett,
That's what I thought.
yeah, I mean, right now, it is identical to the elderly, the age-qualified
yeah,
community.
it's evolved.
Yeah, I would agree with Mr. Piparato that it would make sense to, especially if we're looking to put it into your new ordinance, the changes would make more sense to put in with that. And as Brent said, putting it into, if it's going to be a now that your uses sound like you choose a standalone to work that language, and with what we're looking at, make sure your staff is comfortable that, and your solicitor, that it meets what you need for consistency in your ordinance.
So the way I'm looking at it right now is no matter which avenue we would take, the time frame's gonna be very similar.
That's what it looks like, yes, sir.
Yeah.
So are you looking for a motion for a
For what the
developers to work
attorney
with
suggested,
our professionals to come up with a final draft for the ordinance?
the way Mr. Piparato suggested it, yes.
Yes.
And that would be my, Jim?
If that's your motion?
That is my motion.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Second.
agree with that. I'll second it.
Motion is made by Chris,
Second it.
That's fine.
seconded by Georgianne.
Yeah, that's fine.
The left-hand side have the motion, correct? There's a lot of different things going on here.
What the attorney, what our attorney suggested.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
So how many apartments are there?
A total of 116.
116?
116 in the latest.
Okay.
Just keep in mind that we're doing the zoning issue,
Yeah,
not
I
a
know.
land
I wanted to know
development, so.
first.
Yeah, I reserved questions for the
Yeah.
facilities
That's the only
as
question I
well.
wanted to
If the ordinance was enacted as proposed, and based upon that, as applied to this property, it would be 116.
Okay.
But again, it's a zoning ordinance, so we're showing the design you see as this would as what would be created from this ordinance at this
And there are a
property.
number of hearings
Yeah.
not only is there the hearing, on the final adoption of it, but now it's being proposed as a conditional use, so there would be a conditional use hearing and an opportunity for the public and the board to comment. And then, of course, if it gets through the conditional use aspect, you'll be
Land
the
development.
land development aspect, which would then be before the planning commission and the supervisors as well. So it would just be the start of a process that would take some time.
And the design was to give to visualize what this would mean, because otherwise you hear X number of units and all these sites. It's hard to visualize.
Right.
This gives a visualization of what it would be at this site.
Correct.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Mr. Cruz?
Yes.
Ms. Hunsinger?
Yes.
Mr. Schwartz?
Yes.
Mr. Eubank?
Yes, motion passes. And as far as the next topic goes, how do we want to handle allowing our professionals to contact Hanover? Do you want to do it at this point? Do you want to do
It may
it?
not take our calls.
No, that's what I'm asking, how we're going to do this. We probably get one try at this, so.
So just to back up to give some historical perspective, they previously paid for a sewer capacity study for 2 properties in the township, to go to Hanover. When that study was done, we tried several times to have a meeting to coordinate what the study meant with their staff. They were going through a new manager as their previous manager retired. We had a meeting scheduled, they canceled it. They then went to their Board of Supervisors meeting. I believe there was an authorization to send a letter, and I have the letter from August 30th, 2024 in front of me, and it says, Mr. Green, this office serves as solicitor, Hanover Township. At its August 27, 2024 meeting, the Township Board of Supervisors unanimously approved the following motion: to notify the Township of East Allen that the Township is not interested in allowing additional sanitary sewer conveyance capacity through the Township-owned sanitary sewer system for development in East Allen Township, based on the fact that the Board of Supervisors do not believe it would be in the best interest of the Township and its residents. In light of the foregoing, the Board now considers the subject to be closed and requests no further contact regarding the same with the Board or Township staff. Thank you for your attention on this matter.
So
I mean,
they
Joe might
slammed
be-
the door shut on us,
Yeah.
basically. That letter was pretty clear.
And we have not been.
The only thing I'm gonna say is it's 2 years old.
Yeah.
Things
And
changed.
there could be different people.
I know in that year, there was an election change, there was a new
No, it's,
manager.
look, and it's something
You're
where I
looking at
think,
6-year terms, so maybe not, but.
look, it may be different, there may be a change of heart, they may be looking at the fact that something that doesn't need sewage is a whole lot worse than things that do need sewage. There's a lot of reasons they could look at it. I think that if there's an indication from the boards that this would be something that the board wants to see, and it may be that staff could be authorized upon request of the landowner to proceed, or that at least there's an indication that the board this something the board thinks would be a good idea, at least then it can we'll go back to our client, float the trial, see what he thinks, and if we could then be able to discuss with your solicitor, engineer, and I don't know if it's something that you could authorize, that to the extent that it's at the discretion of your professionals and the manager, if he wants to come back to another meeting to get formal approval. Again, I think right now we're looking for something that at least would allow our client to open the door for discussions, and he may get slammed in his face instead of in your face. But
I don't have a problem with us trying to get the door open. I just don't want any costs borne on us if they want
No,
some type
that's
of
why
new study.
So,
I believe
I'm
it's
about to
still
suggest
escrow.
that we send a letter asking whether that letter is still applicable. Or like, send a letter saying, hey, we were told in 24 not to approach you. Does that still stand, or can we talk?
And that would be my suggestion, that if we do that, that we also add that the board has taken under serious consideration the adoption of the EH ordinance for that particular location, and let them know that it's something that the board is very much considering.
Absolutely.
Maybe that helps, I don't know.
I'll make a motion to that effect to allow the staff to contact Hanover Township in the guise that the attorney mentioned.
I'll second it.
Motion made by Mark, second by Georgianne.
And I'll
I
add.
really think that's about the only avenue we have.
Right.
Yeah, it really is.
So,
And I'll just add that I don't want any costs borne by the township other than writing a letter, that's fine, but.
Yeah, and that, if we take any action, it'll be, they have their escrow account set up, it'll be built to their
Right.
escrow account.
and we
Are
would
we
be
okay if
agreeable
there's
that if
meetings
that
that are
was,
necessary, as long as it's to the escrow?
I'm sorry?
As long as they're billed to escrow, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah, we would agree, that would be acceptable.
And that previous study was paid for by the developer,
Right.
totally.
Just in case they ask for another one or something like that. I
Yeah.
don't want the township being committed to.
No, we
That's fair.
understand. In fact, we had, when we first asked for the downstream study, I believe the request went in, and the answer was put up X dollars. The developer put that money up, and then the study was done.
I believe we still have money in escrow from that original request.
And that's fine.
That's even better.
Yeah,
that's good enough.
Okay, you want to amend your motion?
Yeah, I'm amending it to make sure that the costs are covered by escrow.
You amend your second.
Amend it, my second.
Okay, motion was made and seconded, and the amended and seconded the amendment. Any final questions? Real quick.
Can I please comment? Just a suggestion, for whatever it's worth. The communication may mention that there's 2 proposals for that parcel.
They already know that.
And you might remind
They
them,
know that.
one is a truck stop with 72 parking spots for trucks, The other is an elderly housing development.
They already know that, but good point.
Duly noted.
All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Mr. Cruz?
Yes.
Ms. Hunsinger?
Yes.
Mr. Schwartz?
Yes.
Mr. Unick?
Yes, motion passed.
Thank you very much.
Just
very
before
much.
you leave, since there's two engineers here, I did EMS for 30 years. Please make the elevators able to handle an ambulance stretcher, that the stretcher doesn't have to fold up perpendicular to fit in.
That was previously discussed, and I
It
believe...
needs to be long enough for an
Yeah.
ambulance stretcher to be in there.
I think at the time that was discussed.
Mr. Berg is the architect next to me,
Yeah.
and we'll make that
Sometimes,
I'm
decision.
Gale Architects.
sometimes the engineers look at it like, oh, well, those letters fold up. Yeah, well, when the guy has back pain and you want to put him in a 90-degree perpendicular, it's not very conducive. Yeah, so,
Yeah, the owner's
This is the man
representative
right
said
here
we
that you need
definitely
to
do
talk
that
to.
with the elevators, we
okay,
recognize that.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the comment, Schwartz.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next. The next item you have is a recommendation to approve Resolution 2026-10, granting conditional final plan approval for the UGI compressor station minor subdivision. This is located along Locust Road in East Allen Township. UGI has worked on building a new compressor station, and they're doing a land swap as part of that, and they are looking at using actual subdivision to do that.
I don't think your mic's picking you up.
Go now.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes. Well, I can.
Yeah. So you guys have the floor to explain the project, and there is a couple questions on waivers that the board will have to entertain as part of the approval. But they have met to the point where we can grant conditional approval, and it was recommended previously by the Planning Commission in July.
Okay, thank you for having us. My name's Kevin Fogarty. I'm an attorney. I'm here on behalf of UGI. Seated to my left, immediate left is Mike Ozer, and seated to his left is Phil Bishop. They're both in the UGI right-of-way department. I don't think I've ever done this at a meeting with a plan being presented, but we actually don't want you to approve our plan. What I'm going to ask you to do tonight is to defer. Give us an extension until September. And it's a complicated situation. Mr. and Mrs. Dykeman are here. They're the owners of the property that is the subject of the subdivision, or the land that's affected by it. UGI acquired in 2022 a permanent right-of-way area to install an above-ground regulator station. At some point in the installation of that, the township took the position that UGI had to go through land development and the building code process to install this facility. And with all due respect, I got involved about 2 months ago and we looked at this, it became apparent that they're not obligated to do that. Unfortunately, they spent time and money, and your time and money of your staff and other reviewers to create the plans that are here before you, to basically swap some land across the one edge of the Dykeman's property in exchange for this other area that UGI had already acquired, as I said, in 2022, a right-of-way, to install this facility. Now, and you may all be familiar with this, and if you are, just bear with me. There was originally a station put in there in 1992, and that station, it's all above ground, it's piping, basically, and there was apparently, I wasn't around or involved at all, but there was apparently some complaints from a neighbor or two about the noise. So UGI came out and they put the structure around it. It's basically just 4 walls and a roof and a door to have access to their facilities. That happened in 1994. I think in 2021, these fellows will correct me if I'm wrong, they moved the station a little further along Locust Road, and significantly, on both of these occasions, the original build-out and the one in 2021, there was no township approvals needed. The township did not get involved. Those facilities were placed within the old Conrail right-of-way. that UGI had acquired, I don't know, back in the late 80s, early 90s. And they were using that to place these stations. To do the next one, they needed a small piece of Mr. and Mrs. Dykeman's property. So again, that brings us up to 2022, where they bought that from Mr. and Mrs. Dykeman and then went to install. And then they went down this pathway, unbeknownst to the right-of-way folks and unbeknownst to me, seeking approvals that, again, respectfully, I don't believe they need to get, because their facilities are regulated by the PUC. So, for example, all this piping and everything is all heavily regulated at the state level. There's a section in the municipality's planning code, it's section 10, I think it's 10918, and you may have a similar section in your ordinance. A lot of the municipalities do. They graft that section in the exemption section, that basically, I'm paraphrasing here, UGI and other public utilities don't have to comply with local zoning and land development, so long as they're not putting up a building. Okay, now that's where it gets a little bit dicey. You might say to us, well, but you're putting this thing with 4 walls and a ceiling around this, or you're suggesting you might want to do that. We only want to do that to eliminate the noise. We're not technically obligated to do it. If we don't do it, and there's noise, and somebody complains and makes a complaint with the PUC, then we put this little structure around it, and it abates the noise. So I'm summarizing here like a long history of what's happened and how we got here. It's unfortunate. And I was on a call with the GI folks today, and somebody during the call said, you know how we got here, we tried to be too nice to everybody. They tried to work, and the Dykmans have been very pleasant, and if they have anything they want to offer, they certainly can do that. I think they're just here to observe tonight from what we discussed in the hallway beforehand. But, you know, somebody from the township came out and said, you got to stop your work, and they did. They were installing this facility. They stopped it, and they went all the way down this approval of the plan that's before you here, and I don't think they have to. And I'm not saying that in a nasty way. I wish I would have known about it earlier, and we would have addressed it at that time, and not taken up your time and your planning commission's time and your staff's time generating letters and all these documents. So I didn't want to just, I communicated with your solicitor who's very knowledgeable in this area, and I said, look, we're going to end up, at the end of the day, coming in here tonight and saying, could we please have an extension? I think you have, to the extent you need a letter for us for the extension, somebody told me you have it already. I could be wrong. If you don't, we'll certainly give it to you.
I think we do. I don't know, when does it go to, Carrie? I want to say it's October or September. It just expired.
It's here if you need it. It's dated August 5th,
Okay, what date does it go to, though?
September 3rd.
Okay. And is that enough, or do you need more than that?
I think it's enough. It's your question leads to, like, well, what are you going to do in between now and the next meeting? As a practical matter, I'm going to try to convince your solicitor and anybody else on your staff that has any questions that we shouldn't be having to do this, and that we should be allowed to go ahead and put, again, we're not making history here. There's already been 2 stations at the same location. This one is just adjacent to those, and we're here because we ran out of space and had to go over onto a little bit of the Dykman's property, who have been very cooperative, and I'm going to let them speak for themselves if they wish to, but when we were out in the hallway, their comment to me was, we just want to see this thing get built and be done. I mean, and that's obviously what we do. And that's a little bit, let me mention that too, that's another bit of a concern. UGI needs this station for this winter. They do. And I'll give you the timeline as I understand it. They need to have this thing where they can flip the switch on January 1 and have gas flowing through there. To do that, they have to start the building of it by no later than November 1. It's basically a 2-month thing. And there's some time built in there, the cushion for, if they hit bad weather in December. So we kind of have to get this to the finish line here in terms of what do we have to do for the township or with the township, so they can go out there and actually do what they started to do. I don't know, when was that? Do you guys know when they started and they were stopped?
Construction was stopped in September, I believe, last year.
Of 2025?
2025, I'm
Yeah,
not sure
okay.
when they had started, but they were only probably a few months into it, is all.
Yeah, so I think they needed it, they kind of wanted it for last winter, got by without it, and I'm being told, like, we got to get this thing in to make sure we have, sufficient gas flow for this community and others served through that station for this winter. So that's kind of I won't say the short version, that was kind of long. I don't know if anybody has any questions, and we're here happy to answer them.
Well, listening to everything you're saying, and I agree with you to an extent, and that is that Section 619 of the MPC does provide for that exemption. We can't regulate the use and we can't regulate structures, and you pretty much said that. I'm not going to make the determination whether or not this is a building or not, because if it is a building, then we have the right to regulate it. Unless you want to go to the PUC and have your public hearing and have a determination made by the PUC as set forth in that section of the MPC. So I have no problems with you trying to convince us, but I'm not going to be the person who makes a determination as to whether what you're doing out there is a building or not.
Yeah, so
Well, in I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, so I mean, to back it up, so when they built the compressor station for Keystone Cement, the zoning officer at the time didn't do any permits, there was no notification, and it was an oversight on the township. To date, the zoning officer is not taking the position that these facilities fall under zoning. I think the only thing that they've said is we're reviewing the building for the building code. So whether it's outside of the minimum lot size or some of those things, we have not taken the position that zoning prevails for the township on this building. Where we have taken it is, I think the building code prevails for the building, and that's where they, as the building code official, have said this is it. The predicament that they have is the building is located on the property line. And the interpretation of the plan reviewers from Barry Isaac is, because it's on the property line, they've come up with this position that the building has to have a firewall at the center of it, which is not conducive to what they have designed, because you can't put a firewall in the center of it. The building is going to be a miscellaneous storage building. I believe when they came in originally, we were looking at possibly going for a building appeal, filing the appeal, and just being done with it after that. But we're not looking at, the subdivision was, I believe, voluntarily from UGI. We didn't say you need to have setbacks here or anything. It was really just the building itself.
Well, that's helpful, and to cut to what's item number B on your agenda, I think what was just, the point that was just made is that we don't need to do that. We don't need the subdivision. We don't need a final plan approval for a minor subdivision, because that would be zoning.
Correct.
And we don't have to come, again, I'm not saying this in a bullish way, I'm just saying it under the PUC.
Our staff, prior to the involvement of the solicitor the other day, has taken the position that we're not looking at setbacks of the building, we're not looking at minimum lot areas, we're not looking at those things. We're looking at strictly just the building itself and the building code. And that's where the provision of the building code, the plan reviewer has come up with a determination, and their determination is unique because your building is on the property line because of the easement of how it is. My interpretation is if you have easements on both sides and you can access the building, it can continue. Joe and I have had extensive conversations about that. I think the problem that we run into is we can't tell the building code official necessarily how to proceed with that. So the only mechanism is to go and have the application submitted for the building appeal.
Go before the Building Code Board of Appeals.
Correct.
Yeah, well, I'll talk to you, John, we might do that, but for purposes of this board, I don't want to take up any more of your time. We're happy to answer any questions you have. This minor subdivision plan, as I said at the very beginning, we really wouldn't want you to approve it, and we don't need it, and we apologize for taking up your time with it and your
Yeah, I think it was just.
We have the time frame through September 30th, and if you don't grant an extension after that, we will just deny it, so.
Yeah, well, right, or we'll withdraw.
Or you withdraw.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to rack up any more fees and costs on our end, on your end, any time, anything like that.
Yeah, I think you guys did this plan as just kind of trying to work through the property line.
Well, I know, I think
And-
what happened was, I think when the building folks went out there, they said, oh, you got a lot line issue too.
Yeah.
And the UGI folks ran with that and said, oh, let's get a plan, we'll go in and we'll do that, and it's regrettable. But what we want to do is, we want to get past that, we want to get this off your agenda so you can move on to your other items for tonight. And, I'll speak to the solicitor, I'll get an application, and if that's what you're telling us, we'll go in on the building. We're not, okay, the building, that exemption under the building code to me is like what's over at 2121 City Line Road, okay? The big UGI facility there. If they went in there and they did substantial renovations to that building. They had to go through the city of Bethlehem and get all.
Request an interpretation by the board also that it doesn't constitute a building.
I know, and that's good. I don't want to take up any more of your time on this, because I think we're all saying the same thing.
Yeah, I think it was
Yeah.
just the mechanism of you're now here. But yeah, we were not taking the position that you need land development for the building, or that it goes
Okay.
under zoning.
All right, much appreciated. I don't know if Mr. and Mrs. Dykeman, I'm seeing a shaking of the head, so I think it's no.
But you're good till the end of September, right?
Got it, yes. We'll get something submitted to get before, I assume those hearings are scheduled on an as-needed basis.
We have to go through on our end to see, because we recently left the regional one when we gave you the original application, but we can coordinate with that with you.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Thanks for
Thank
your
you.
time, much appreciated.
All right, the next item you have is item number C. We have consideration of financial security releases for Regency at Creekside Meadows for Phase 1 through Phase 3. This is for the public improvements. We have received 3 separate requests on July 10th. The 45 days is, I believe, next week to take action on the security release. Hanover Engineering has done inspections, they've looked at their notes, they have looked at the HOA's reports previously, as well as the one that was submitted, I think yesterday or the day before. Jim can speak more on it, as he was working with Jill and Joe about it, but we do have 3 recommendations.
Well, the first thing I can say is we have not had time to evaluate the most recent correspondence received from the HOA. However, we have looked at the request submitted by the developer. We do have some concerns as far as the completion of all the projects. What we basically said in our letters just issued today is that we would recommend the release of the security funds pending completion of the improvements outlined for each section. I don't know if you want to go through each of those or how you want to handle it, but Jill has issued recommendation letters. Every one of them has, I'll call it a punch list of things that we feel need to be completed in order to release the funds in their entirety. And some of that, as Ms. Durso has indicated, include things like certifications from the various consultants and experts on the installation and operation of the facilities on site. There's other things as far as, again, your typical punch list items, as-built plans, verifying elevations, verifying the location of things of that nature. I can certainly read through them if you want me to, or you could just reference the recommendation letters from Jill.
So I can
as
give
part of
you
your action.
each of the phases, because you will need that as part of your motion. Phase 1, release number 4, they've requested a full release. They have a remaining security of $1,069,967.80. Phase 2 was release number 3, and it's $516,910.63. And phase 3 is, the remaining was $335,854.50.
And then the other one was Steuben Road.
Correct, and that's a separate motion.
Yeah.
That's the next item. So,
Do any of those punch lists on any of those releases reflect the retaining pond issue that was brought up tonight?
Yes.
It requires the certification.
so previously,
Layman's description of what that means.
so
Basically,
previously,
they're going to have to certify to us that the entire drainage and stormwater management system, being the irrigation, the detention pond, and the collection system, are installed and operating as per the approved plans. And we don't have that on file yet. We're also awaiting final as-bills that would indicate corresponding, installation and certification of the design and construction installation in accordance with those designs as well. So basically, we're looking at multiple levels of certification from the developer's team that these facilities have been installed correctly. And until they can do that, we would not be recommending the release of the funds.
Then, we do return of escrow quite often, and hardly, most of them don't have conditions attached to them.
Well, usually, if you recall, there's adjustments made to the amounts.
Right.
Rather than doing they've done A, B, and C, but they haven't completed C 100%, and now we have to evaluate, okay, we could authorize 75% of that and hold off on 25%. We made it a punch list type of scenario rather than a weighted average of the amounts.
So part of that also is there's been a change on, we've typically have always held 15% for maintenance. And I think the position is now, we really can't hold 15% if the improvement is completed. So we're in that predicament where some of this is completed work, may not be fully completed, but we also can't hold that 15% in perpetuity like we've previously have done, and that's been a more recent issue that we've had on some of the warehouse projects and other things. Ultimately, we're still holding it until they meet their punch list, so it's very close to a dedication of when they go to maintenance. Part of the difference is a majority of these facilities are not going to be township owned. They will be HOA owned and responsible facilities. So we're not accepting them when they get to the punch list. So, but there is mechanisms for the HOA to deal with that and work through the developer. Unfortunately, the township just we can't withhold just because we want to withhold under the MPC. But this is a little bit unique, but this will most likely be going forward how we handle these final requests for a phase project or any project where they're requesting to go to maintenance. It's conditioned so that they can go to maintenance when they meet it, subject to the approval of the solicitor, the engineer, and the manager at that point, and then provide an 18-month maintenance bond.
Who has to certify that then?
Good question.
The professionals that.
So they're professionals, they have to have somebody certify it that has a seal
So they
that says.
self-certify, is that what you're saying?
No, it's not, it's a,
Okay.
their engineer that's licensed and sealed by Pennsylvania will have to certify that they are correct. It can't just be Joe Schmo that just went out and said, yeah, it looks good to
Can't be somebody on
me.
their team or anything.
But they take the responsibility, if it's not certified correctly, that it's their seal and licensing.
Right,
that
the
is
only
on
thing
hook.
that holds them is that it's their seal and license. It is their team that approves it. But it's that engineer's seal.
Aren't we theoretically holding the money either way?
We are until they meet the conditions.
So then why do we wait, why can't we wait till they meet the conditions?
That's my question.
Yeah,
That's,
exactly.
So why are we going through this
Then you're
when,
gonna have to do a piecemeal release.
We can't give it,
So let me can I just give an overview of this, and it's for people in the audience as well, and we just have to be careful, right? We are governed, our relationship is set forth in the municipality's planning code. Our relationship is with the developer by virtue of the improvements agreement and the escrow that's posted. If they meet the requirements of section 509, and that is that the improvements are installed consistent with the approved plans, we have no choice. The relationship between the HOA and the developer is under the Uniform Plan Community Act. We have nothing to do with that. That's not to say that we don't support them, it's not to say that we don't hear them here. We have to be careful. We cannot not release funds because we have a report from somebody on behalf of a private HOA. Our obligation is to look to the municipal engineer and the municipal engineering staff and whether or not they opine that the improvements are completed consistent with the approved plan. So I just want everybody to understand that. We support you, we want to make sure that everything's done the correct way, but we do not have the legal right to accept private reports from a homeowners association and deny the release of funds. We can if our engineers indicate that they have not received the satisfaction of the conditions that are set forth in the review letter. We have every right in the world to withhold the funds until they satisfy that and complete that.
And the other thing, I mean, besides certifications and submission of as-built plans, most of it is related to landscaping and minor things that we in the past have done a cash escrow for on almost every project where they have gone to their maintenance and they've posted a cash escrow and they said, we'll replace the 20 dead trees in the future. They have not offered that. They may in the future say, hey, we have some stuff, because if you remember, when I first started in 2018, we were holding security for St. Luke's because they kept killing the same tree and the swale they kept mowing every time we did an inspection, and they completed the improvements 4 years prior to the release of security. So it's trying to avoid holding on to things that we necessarily don't need, but they have been completed. I was out with Jill. There is some items that have to be addressed that we concur with the HOA, and there's overlaps, but we can't act on behalf of the HOA in that capacity. But we do have comments on stabilization, areas where grass is dead, trees that are dead, buffering, and those have been marked in a punch list in each of the release letters.
Which of the three, Release 2, Release 3, and Release 4, contain the pond in question?
Well, the pond, I believe, was previously released a long, long time ago when it was constructed. So we have not been holding security for the pond since probably 2020 or 2019.
Now, part of the certifications will allude to that, to indicate whether or not anything has changed, that it's still operating effectively, that it's operating in accordance. There's a host of things that could be contributing to that scenario. So we want their design professional to review what those options are and what they've determined.
So where is that in those three?
That's part of the as-built and the certifications on phase 1, I believe.
Yeah, it's phase 1, it's the first one, or bottom
Number 3,
one.
the bottom one.
Yeah,
Number
bottom one.
3.
Phase 1, release 4. Condition 1 is the as-built plans. 2 is submission of design engineers for the BMP facilities. 3 is for the irrigation system.
So RAC M Phase 1, SEC Release 4 is
Correct.
the one that contains the area in question.
Correct.
So you have a condition dealing with the pond, correct? That's through the engineer.
Yes.
So according to what the solicitor had said about not taking their word, but, okay, we have that. Why are we accepting, or why are we considering a condition? Can't we just say we're not releasing it until that's certified?
Well, that's basically what this is. This condition
Yeah.
says, go ahead and...
Well, can't we vote on it at that point?
So part of the concern, I think, is we are discussing a constructed improvement that's already been previously constructed and released, and we no longer can use any future security for what is going on right now as part of this.
I got
So the
you.
money that we have, that we're talking about this issue, the only thing remaining is the certification.
Yeah, and that's
We're
no-
not
that's no
holding $1
different
million
than-
for
That's
the
no
pond.
different than the detention basin that's now out of the 18-month maintenance period, and all of a sudden there's a sinkhole.
Right.
You know, unfortunately, when the 18-month maintenance period's up and the township is required to do the review of the improvements, you do the review, they comply with the plans, you make the release, and thereafter there becomes an issue with the...
No, I got
Yeah,
it.
that hasn't even
That is
occurred yet.
really the predicament. We have released this so far ago. I think it was released before we were even building homes as part of the security release, and now there's nothing left to deal with that issue because this is for road final wearing courses, some stormwater basins, and other things that are only considered public improvements.
Then, okay, woulda, shoulda, coulda. Why did we release money for a pond that was not certified?
Well, you don't get the certification until it's done and they go to the NOT process.
That doesn't answer my question.
Then they're not gonna get the
We're
money that's
we're-
held.
we're governed by timeframe, by
Yeah.
timeframes in the MPC.
The construction was done in accordance with the plan at the time.
Yeah, so the certification usually doesn't happen until dedication at the end.
This is why the planned community provides avenues for the homeowners association to take action against a developer or declarant. I understand, listen, I'm on that side of the table more than I am on this side of the table. I understand the thought process of asking the municipal officials to do what they can to help them, and we certainly want to do that. But we also have to be guided by the laws.
No, I
And that
got
is, we're guided by the MPC, they're guided by the plan, Uniform Plan Community Act. But I think what Jim is explaining to me, and I'm hearing Brent say, is that they're not getting any money released until the certification is received. And so
And quite frankly, technically, we could have done a
Partial.
and gotten most of the money
Now
back
you're not
that
getting
way,
any of
because
it.
it's not related to the stormwater.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
we would be able to have most of that money returned.
Correct.
Because of that work being done.
Is this actual money sitting in escrow, or is it a
I believe
bond?
it's a bond or a letter of
So it's a
credit.
bond, so it's not actual money sitting in escrow.
They're posting it, but I don't see a reason legally that we could keep it.
Because
Not-
we
not
don't have
for-
it certified.
Well, but, so the certification may be secured, I mean, I don't have the cost estimate, we might be talking about $10,000 that we would be holding. We're not talking about $1 million for the certification.
Back there, huh?
That's where the certification is basically engineer submitting sealed plans and signing it, saying that they've been,
If we wouldn't have put the conditions on this, we would have had to prorate what your security release would be this evening.
And we'd
And
get
it
it
would
now.
have been substantial.
Okay.
yeah, we may be talking about only holding 25,000 or 50,000 in security if they've met everything else.
So the bottom line is, they're not getting a penny until everything's certified.
Right.
The way it's drafted currently, yes.
All right.
Or all the conditions are met, and maybe that's a partial, they come back and ask for a partial release that they've done this and now,
Well, before we do that, because I want to be fair to everybody in the audience too, I mean, Kate, you're here on behalf of the developer, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, are the conditions that are set forth in the review letters by Hanover Engineering acceptable to the developer, and can you state that on the record?
Yeah, they're acceptable at this time. We're not going to forego the ability to come back to get partial
Partial releases, I understand that. But as far as the overall release is concerned?
Yes.
Okay.
That is correct.
All right. So we're looking for a motion to conditionally release.
Based upon the Hanover Engineering recommendations dated
Condition
August 13th.
by Hanover Engineering.
I
So
know it's
for a
gonna-
motion to release,
I know it's gonna complicate things, but I want two separate motions. I want release 2 and release 3 on one motion, and I want release 4 on its own.
now you confused me.
so you want to do them individually.
Or individual.
Just do them individually.
Okay.
And then we can do the amounts.
Okay.
So the first release would be subject to Hanover's Engineering's review letter, August 13th for Phase 1. Release number 4, conditioned on meeting the 6 conditions, and it would be a release amount of $1,069,967.80.
So you want to do them separate, correct, Mark?
Yes.
Why?
I'm gonna vote differently.
Okay, I understand that, but
I don't
if you
wanna.
vote different.
I don't wanna negate
If
the
we're
other
dividing
two.
this up, it's, in my opinion, it's best to hold everything conditionally. Then they're not getting anything until it's all satisfied.
Mr. Solicitor, is it better one way or the other?
I don't know if it's better one way or the other. I think whatever you are comfortable with, Mark. If you prefer to do it individually, you certainly have.
If
the right
release
to
2 and
request
release
that.
3 have nothing to do with the pond, then I have no problem with releasing those 2.
Why don't we take those two first?
That's what I asked.
Brad, do you want to read that off so we?
Yeah, so release 2, or, I gotta find, release 2, security 3, would be conditioned on Hanover's letter, August 13th, 2026, for the improvements of Phase 2 in the amount of $516,910.63, based on the 6 items conditioned on the letter. And 2, or 3, is the same letter for $335,854.50, with 5 items to be met, conditioned by the developer.
Can we see those letters?
Right now, they're electronically, we can email them to you tomorrow.
Well, I mean, there's something before the board, it's up to you now how you want to proceed with it. I mean, if you want to make a motion or not make a motion, but I think, You know, this is for you to decide. You have the information in front of you, it's for you to decide whether or not you want to take action on it tonight or not.
That's correct.
So I'm looking at it this way, Mark. We heard from the community, and I looked at these, and I believe every concern that they talked about is in these letters. I could be wrong, but I believe they're in here. Am I missing one?
The list they just looked at had all kinds of things that somebody marked down. Was that you, Brent, when you went there about the cracked sidewalks and stuff? Who did that little,
So are you talking about the email or?
yeah, the one that said like you went through Pond Way and this and that? but-
I think their HOA has done that report, and we've seen that, and we've looked
Okay.
at that.
Okay. I know you said you
But-
were out with Jill, so I didn't know if you came
Yeah,
up with
no, I
that
mean,
or-
we went through the development, and we looked at the improvements, and some of the stuff is still the same issue that we've had before. So but a majority of the improvements have been done, and we can't keep money for things that are done.
Right.
So that's where we're kind of stuck. They are beyond the amount that we're withholding on all three phases, what we can really hold.
Replacing dead trees, planting topsoil seeding, certificating irrigation system.
I still think it's better to hold.
Did a list of every property.
Hold them all,
Hold them all.
as long as we don't get into a time frame.
No, it's a lot
conflict.
easier,
Well,
It's their idea.
Yeah.
45 days, yes.
45 days is what?
to take action by the board. And these were,
45 days of the request.
yeah, so these were from the 10th.
So no would be a reaction.
No.
Well, you wouldn't take any action if you know, if there's no motion, there's no action to take.
Then
I
the
have
clock
yet to-
is taken.
I have yet
The
to
clock
get a
is
motion,
ticking.
so if there's no, you know, we either need a motion or we don't.
Right, but-
If we don't make a motion, the 45-day clock is ticking. Okay, if we would vote no, then we have to prove in court that the money we're holding has to deal with what we're concerned over. If we vote yes, it's all conditional. We have all of their money. They don't get a penny of it until it's all done. Every last comma, semicolon, and period has to be finished. That's conditional.
Well, if they don't get it until it's done, then why are they asking for it now?
Well, this is what we've proposed. They have not proposed this. They would like to get a release on whatever we say is done. So we would have to go back and calculate out those items, and then we would be holding security for like 20,000.
Exactly.
The
Which
quick
would not
answer
include
is,
the stormwater.
the quick answer
But you're
is-
fine with this.
I'm fine with this for now, if it's acted upon.
If it's active.
Yes.
Yeah, because I do believe the 45 days runs from July 1st, because that's what the letter was, I think, sent through.
Yeah, I guess it depends on is it the day that's received or the date that it's sent.
So that's pretty close to your 45 days.
Yeah, I think it's within this week, is the 45 days. I mean, the other option is the staff goes out and we calculate what has been done, and we give you the
Just so
breakdowns.
the audience understands that, if that happens, we are gonna be releasing a whole bunch of money.
That's my point.
Whereby if you approve these resolutions, you're gonna be holding all the money.
That's exactly my
I
point.
mean, does everyone?
Trying to get that
That's what
point
we're looking
across.
at here. If they itemize, because the money has already been released for the detention basin.
Yes.
So they are entitled to all of the money for the improvements that have been properly installed in compliance with the plan up to this date. And I think what I'm hearing Brent say is that that's a whole lot of this money.
No, there's no doubt.
I have a question for the toll representative.
Yes.
Why don't you just take that 45 days and do everything that you promised to do and get it done?
No, we're not
It'll all
going
be-
there. We're not going there
We're not
tonight.
going back.
We're not going there.
But I'm just saying, they could just
That
do it.
45 days may expire in 2 days. What-
Yeah.
what was
Gives
your
you a lot
date
of
for the
time
letter?
to do a lot of the things
July
that you
1st.
promised.
Okay, the letter's July 1st. We're already at August 12th, 13th. So, I mean, we have to take action within
3
2 to
days.
3 days.
So,
Just do what you promised to do.
We haven't seen the 813 letter that you released. Makes no sense.
but I just think putting this through conditionally is the best protection this township has.
And I agree.
Because it's not releasing. Otherwise, you will be forced to release.
So I'd like to make a motion to release pending all the conditions set forth by Hanover Engineering that was read off earlier. For
Conditional.
pending all the conditions, correct?
Yeah.
Or satisfied.
Motion is made by Chris,
Second.
seconded by Georgiana. Questions? On behalf of the township, I'm going to explain this one more time. We have several different choices in front of us. Okay, we have a 45-day time limit that's going to be expiring somewhere close. We can either vote no tonight to this request or vote yes. If we vote no, and we're holding money that we have no right to be holding, we'll see them in court and we'll lose. If we vote yes on a conditional approval, they don't get a penny until all of those conditions are met. Your concern about the pond is included in there. Okay?
Can we see the letter at least that shows that?
It's, how do I explain this? The letter is from our engineer to the board. The letter's not to the engineer to the public.
I mean, right now, the conditions are they have to provide as-built plans for each of the phases. They have to provide certifications for stormwater. They have to provide various remediation of sinkholes or dead trees that are replaced, landscaping that is dead, or areas that are dead grass or never grew. So it's a majority of the things that you guys have expressed concerns with that we can secure. Things beyond which haven't been secured that aren't properly constructed, we don't have a say over those improvements. We can only go after public improvements. So there's certain things that will be a concern, but ultimately, if the pond's not functioning, they're not going to get a notice of termination from the Conservation District, and they will not get their certification done because the certifying person is going to say, no way am I certifying this.
So let me just follow that up so everybody understands. The township is not the only governing body that has jurisdiction over these stormwater facilities and this detention pond, okay? As everybody's indicated, you heard the letters NOT. So this matter is not over until they receive their NOT. They are the signatory on the NOT, the developers. You are not on as the HOA. It's their legal obligation to complete it and to be able to get that terminated. And in order to do that, there will be multiple inspections and multiple processes they must go through in order for that to happen.
I do have a question. Will there be a timeline that Toll will be responsible for completion of these items?
So they do not have a timeline other than they won't get money until they meet it. So if it takes them 2 years, now, once they meet this and we do a conditional release, we would then go into the maintenance period. And these items have to be maintenance-free from defects for 18 months. So if we keep having dead trees or issues with the pond, they're not going to be able to go out of maintenance. So that will be extended.
For any of you that are versed in the Planned Community Act, because you've mentioned it, you know, whoever spoke, you know that there's provisions in that act for the maintenance of your improvements for a period of time as well, which gives you the private right to bring actions against the developer as well. So it's not just the township's protection, it's also protection in the act that's there for you. And they, again, the same protections are set forth in the Planned Community Act. All you have to do is look at it. It's there for you as the purchasers of the units.
I thought you said that you already had the NOT approval.
No, I said
No.
we're going through
They're
the
going through
NOT.
it.
It's going to be done. The NOT will be approved. I saw a letter from the County of Northampton that there are 2 items left on the punch list, and they said, just send us a photo once you've done them and you'll get your NOT. So they aren't even addressing the pond problem.
that it's never gotten up to the prescribed
Well, we are.
level.
For the 10th time,
Well,
we
it's
are.
not in writing anymore.
It is in writing. It says that they have to be certified by the professional engineer on
But
behalf
they're
of the
gonna get the
developer.
NOT.
But, and that's,
There you go. We don't have control over the NOT.
Yeah, the
Why are-
NOT is
why-
the
why are you
jurisdiction
looking
of
to the
another
township For that obligation. We don't control the NOT.
I know
You have
that,
to-
I know that.
You have to look at the various relationships and who is responsible for what under the law. And that's all we're saying. The board is trying to protect you to the degree that they can. And they're saying to you, there's a $2 million, I counted the numbers, there's $2 million in escrow, they're not going to get the money until the municipal engineer's office says that they've satisfactorily addressed all the items under the approved plans. What more could you come here tonight and ask for, other than what this board's ready to vote on?
correct.
You can't get better protection than that, in my opinion. I mean, you may differ with me, but I don't see how it gets any better than that.
So, it sounded like when they they did the inspection for the NOT, like he said, there were 2 items on it, but nowhere has it ever been demonstrated or asked to show that the pond holds water. It holds water at around 4.5 feet, and it never seems to dip below that.
Has anybody contacted the Conservation District on behalf of the HOA? I mean, you're here, has anybody gone to the Conservation District? Who has jurisdiction over that?
Okay, so that's kind of where I was going. That's
Yes.
where we should address that.
Well, one of the places, I mean, you're here tonight addressing it, and the board's, you know, they're gonna maybe take action to protect you in that regard with the
Right.
release. But Northampton County Conservation District has jurisdiction over that, we don't.
Yeah, so does the HOA have an engineer that's looked at this and done a report besides the internal report?
No.
Okay, I mean, maybe that is something, if you are concerned with it, have them look at the stormwater design plans, but there's certain things that,
The plans are fine.
well, I'm not saying that the plans, but obviously, you're saying there's something not
That's why
working
we're also
with
looking
it.
for the certification.
Correct. But
Because,
we,
I mean, if they could put water in it and see that it holds, we'd be happy.
Because that also is demonstrated by our as-built plan request. They're gonna have to document that all the appropriate elevations were hit at the construction level, and then they have to certify that it's operating correctly. So we're trying to make sure that what was supposed to be built was built.
That's our.
And that's
Yeah, I
the
mean,
conditions we have in there.
we don't have the luxury of regulating it, because the Conservation District through DEP and federal government has issued an MPDS permit. So there's certain things that are beyond what we have the control to do, but the one thing we can control is their certification, and they're gonna have to provide the certification that everything's there and go through that, so. But right now, we are looking at holding a conditional amount that they can hammer out these items, and if they're agreeing to, until everything's done, I think that's a much better compromise compared to releasing a majority of this and holding a very little amount.
But if it takes too long, then we'll
Well,
be back.
we understand that, yeah, we understand that.
Okay. Board have any further questions?
Plans would show that it's holding water?
Well, the as-built plans show the constructed improvements, the elevations, the related features. It will not identify non-structural problems that could be occurring. So, I'll give you an example of one that it will not identify. If there is infiltration in and around that basin for various reasons, an as-built plan would not necessarily indicate that in any way, shape, or form, because it's going to identify the constructed improvements. The other potential avenue of something like that not operating as intended, there might not be as much water getting to that pond as what the modeling said would. So a perfect example is, if the model was built upon soils types that are, the accepted normal, but our soils in and around your site are more permeable than what the model would have suggested by the type of soil, and that could be because of shale composition and things of that nature, you might not be getting this sheer volume of runoff coming from your site into these areas. So there are other avenues, but what we want to do is make sure that it was built correctly.
And
working correctly, not only just being built correctly.
That's actually work.
Didn't they fix some leaks around the concrete?
They have done repairs and they've done things, but they've never gotten enough water in there to prove that it holds water above a certain level.
We have to get up to 5.8 feet to hit the normal operating level of the pond. We've never gotten there in 4 years. Never.
We've had 4 really dry years. As a farmer, I can vouch for that.
But we are draining 100 acres on
I am going to cut off the conversation. This board is going to be doing what they can in the best interest of everybody sitting in this room.
Thank you.
With that being said, roll call, please.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Mr. Cruz?
Yes.
Ms. Hensinger?
Yes.
Mr. Schwartz?
No.
Mr. Unangs?
Yes, motion passes.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
So the next item you have is the consideration of the dedication.
You getting stay to the end of the meeting?
You're gonna be lonely without it.
Now you can go.
All right, so the next item we have is the offer of dedication for the Collector Road, which is Steuben, as part of the toll development. We've gone out, we've done an inspection. There was some punch list items that I believe were taken care of. At this point, they're very minor things that have been there, but I don't know. Oh, yeah, so it's going to be conditioned as well. We have a remaining $212,278.27. We need as-built plans for the road, similar to all the other phases. There's a error in the street sign. It has Bath Pike, and it should be Bath Pike at the intersection of Steuben and 512. There's some debris that's left in the cul-de-sac that looks like it's from construction, and then we need their maintenance bond. Once they post that and take care of those 2 minor items and then the as-built plans, we would be willing to go to the 18 months. So I guess the recommendation is that we're going out and moving forward with condition the release, and when they meet the conditions, we would be going to the 18-month maintenance period.
So again, very similar to what we've recommended for phase 1 through 3. This is just for Steuben Road.
Are you agreeable to that? Or is that?
What do we have, D?
And they're gonna
What was
fix,
that?
Okay, forget it, I know what.
and they're gonna fix the sign?
Yes, we have.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, it was something that was mentioned in construction too when they were building the house, is that there is a conflict here that's not the actual street. But it's,
Okay.
that's a relatively easy fix, but no, so far the curbing, the roadway, the wearing course, everything looks adequate. There's no issues that we had.
The temporary cul-de-sac was paved in accordance with everything as well,
Correct.
given that we really don't know how long temporary will be.
Yeah.
The township line road's closed, right?
Unrelated to this.
Correct. But
Steuben on their side.
yeah, this is
Oh,
the
okay.
Toll Brothers side, not
This
the
is
other.
Okay.
unrelated to that.
Thank you.
So we would recommend a motion be made to condition the release request on Hanover Engineering's letter dated August 13th in the amount and the conditions that are imposed.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, motion was made by Mark, seconded by Lou. Yeah, if you come out Steuben Road to 512, the road now continues on the west side.
Okay,
That's the Steuben Road.
okay, thank you. I was trying to see where it was at, but,
Yeah, we didn't have a plan or anything because this is part of the toll.
Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Mr. Cruz?
Yes.
Ms. Hensinger?
yes.
Mr. Schwartz?
Yes.
Mr. Unangs?
Yes, motion passes.
Okay. Item number E, I will keep it brief because I don't know. You were all distributed a copy several weeks ago on drafts of the final zoning ordinance.
No, wait, I don't mean to keep interrupting you tonight, but I'm
No.
gonna interrupt you anyway.
You're good.
I don't think this should be a brief discussion.
Well, I don't.
So what I'm getting at is, do we wanna put it on The end of the meeting, the end of the month meeting?
Well, that's what I was planning on doing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I was based on it, I wasn't going into the detail, and I didn't have time to prepare something formal.
Okay.
No refund on the cruise, so I'm going.
Then you go.
But,
No,
so,
go ahead.
we have been working as part of the River Central Regional Comprehensive Plan since, I believe, 2020, which is with Northampton Borough, Hanover Township, Hanover Township, Lehigh County, North Catasauqua Borough, and Catasauqua Borough as part of regional zoning. So the ultimate goal is the sharing of land uses to protect so that the undesirable land uses can go where they're more appropriate in the region versus under the current MPC that we have to provide for everything in our community, which means the data centers, the warehouses, the adult bookstores, those uses that usually generally have an impact on the community, they don't have to be planned no longer in a single community. So we went through and adopted a comprehensive plan. We then went through and adopted an implementation agreement. The implementation agreement requires us within 2 years of the adoption of it, go forward and make a zoning ordinance and subdivision ordinance that is consistent with a regional comprehensive plan. So our staff has been working the last several years on going through and doing this ordinance. And right now we are at 453 pages of documents. But what we have done is we have modernized a lot of the issues that we've seen in the past when it comes to various issues, whether it's setbacks, impervious coverage, and other things. And we've also created I hope it's a more user-friendly ordinance. So I will give a more thorough presentation at the next meeting for everybody. You have a copy of it. We have identified all the uses that we're required to have. Out of those uses, we now have uses with specific criteria, and there's only, I think, 4 that do not have specific criteria that need to be met. Doesn't mean they're not permitted, if they're permitted, there's certain conditions they have to meet before we can issue a permit. If not, it's a conditional use or a special exception. So I think we've modernized a lot of our regulations. We've brought into uses that we did not plan for and go through. We also have requirements now that are consistent for accessory uses that people have, where we really didn't have up-to-date regulations on that. So we go through a lot of those accessory uses that you really wouldn't see, such as beekeeping, construction trailers, concession sales, drop boxes, those types of uses that tend to be nuisances that we deal with, but we really had no regulation for. Additionally, we've updated our parking requirements and environmental requirements to be more restrictive in some aspects. But right now, the zoning districts, everywhere where high-density residential would be permitted, except for the suburban residential, is pretty much now the agricultural residential district. So what used to be the ARR. So our suburban residential, and not suburban, our planned residential is now basically ARR because of us being a more rural community and trying to preserve development density. It does not mean that you can't see development in the future. There is a way of going out and controlling the amendment mechanisms that we have, but it also brings in the requirements of when somebody comes in, like we had earlier, the process that they have to go through for an amendment and the regional review of that amendment. I think it's a very comprehensive document. I'm sure there's things that need to be tweaked, just spelling, grammatical, but we've gone through it several times. We've spent a lot of time on it, and we're now at that point. So, several.
It's 400 pages.
I just copied and pasted it from AI.
Oh, the map is a little incorrect.
So the map, yes, I know the map. There is a updated map that has been done, and there's still issues with the map that we have to work through. But there is going to be a new zoning district, and I think that's probably one of the more important things is any governmental property that is owned, which we have several, is going to be a limited use designation. Because one of the things we talked about was where do we put a school? So the school right now is in the agricultural district. Well, that's probably not where you want to have a school. So there's certain things that have changed. So we've added that district because we have, right now we have township property, we have county property, we have the First Regional Compost Authority property, we have FAA property, we have Commonwealth of PA property, and we have the City of Bethlehem's property. So there's a lot of areas that we have that we've incorporated. Now, one of the things we've added to our map is floodplains as well as farmland preservation easements, which there are some updated ones that have to be added. But we have, with the ag designation, if it's preserved farmland, it's going to be the agricultural zoning district. Now, the one thing that we've added to protect when an exclusion zone is on a farm preservation easement, if they have an exclusion zone, they are allowed to meet a 1 acre minimum to build a lot, where currently the minimum is 10 acres in ag to protect it. So one of the things we looked at in a forward fashion, because that was an issue we've had, that they're allowed to at least build a lot that is functional for a relative, and they can go out and have somebody live on the property in that exclusion zone and not have an issue of going through any process or hoops. So
farming.
for farming, only in the ag district. Otherwise, it's a 1 acre minimum. I don't know if that's necessarily conducive for the whole township, but at this point, based on the previous discussions we've had, that's where we're leaving it. Ultimately, developers will have to make sure they have functional lots to make sure that they can meet the minimum lot sizes and net out. There are some things that are added, though, that we've built upon with lot area, that they have to net out certain sensitive features, and they have to do as part of a subdivision, a rural resource inventory. But we also now have steep slope provisions where we had some, but not as adequate, where you're really limited in the uses that you can have, you're limited in where you can build and how you can do that. We have riparian buffer requirements now, we have requirements for floodplain management that match some of the issues that we've had historically over the years, where somebody's come in and wanted to do an accessory use on the property in a floodplain, they now would be restricted from doing that if it's in an active floodplain. So it's making the zoning consistent with some of the issues that we've seen, as well as definition issues that we've had over the years and other things. The big issue that we will have, and we talked about a little bit here tonight, is public sewer. That is going to be a big problem, where some uses require public sewer. Unfortunately, Bathborough is in an exceptional value, high-quality watershed, and they can't expand their sewer. So unless it's redevelopment in an existing sewer service area, you're not going to see sewer beyond on the northern part of the township. You also have the southern part of the township, which we could potentially use Hanover, and they've been reluctant. How the ordinance is drafted is that it really gives the township the upper hand of saying, yes, we want to provide public sewer to this use or not, but that will be something that potentially a developer can challenge under Chapter 71. Our 537 plan that regulates sewage planning in the township was really related to existing malfunctions and issues we had. It did not look at land development and future build-out and land uses that would require this. One thing you are seeing, and it hasn't been as common in the valley, but Allen and Northampton has gone through this. DEP's made them update their 537 plan because of will serve letters being issued and not having capacity. So we want to be careful where public sewer is a requirement in providing that we're not forced to update a plan. And if we are forced, it's through voluntary mechanisms that we have agreed to and the developer's paying for. Not that we're under consent decree or some other mechanism from the state. So it is something that really public sewer is going to be that issue. Public water is not, because pretty much the city of Bethlehem, if they're a customer that they can have, they will connect them within reason. But no, it's a pretty lengthy ordinance. We do add some airport overlay, hazard overlay stuff that's in there. The one question that we would probably want to discuss tonight is the official map. So we've previously adopted an official map that lays out future roads and walking paths in the township. As part of the River Central Regional Planning, that was supposed to be incorporated in, because the other communities did not have one. I don't think it's necessary for them to have one if you're built out, because you're not going to have a lot of development where you're laying out roads and other things. But they all wanted to do that. Now, none of them have. The question I have for the board is, do we feel that that's a necessary tool that we want to have for our township for future growth and other management? Basically what the official map does is it lays out those features. If a development comes in on a subdivision application, we have 12 months to secure some sort of incorporation of the project, developers voluntarily doing whatever we're looking at, and if we don't, we then have the right to condemn it. I don't think we'll ever condemn something. There are some things that we've looked at that are probably inadequate now, like road extensions, that we have to shift.
It's certainly an effective tool to have, right?
Correct.
I mean, I've seen other municipalities use it very effectively.
Correct. The biggest thing with the official map today is open space planning. So you have Lower Nazareth that took that tool, and basically all of their open space tracks have said, we want it for farmland preservation, we're gonna put an easement on it. So now anytime a development comes in, they can't get approvals for 12 months. I don't know if that's necessarily our goal of delaying it. I think we would want to work on acquiring properties, but I think it's also a tool as part of the subdivisions that maybe we need to look at our regulations and require open space as part of the development when we look at these densities and other things. That's the one thing I will give credit to the elderly housing overlay. They did provide more open space than
65%.
what was typical on an apartment complex, and some of the discussions we had regarding shared facilities with the public and the community house that they have on the site were unique. But
Can we make them pay for any roads, any kind of developments?
so you're limited in what you really.
Or expansion?
Yeah, so you have to have a voluntary mechanism with them, because the developer is only required to do what the ordinance requires and only on frontage. We've now gone through and made a lot of conditional uses that they have to go out and meet certain criteria, which is a mechanism for road improvements like we talked about with Bright Farms. But that only goes so far, and it's a balancing act because not everybody's gonna have the deep pockets to do those improvements. So you're really going back and forth on how far is enough for what we need. But it's certainly a tool when you look at planning out, and if development pressures would continue, that we can lay out how we want to see the township go in the next few years.
And as Brent mentioned, a lot of the uses are now made to be conditional uses, right? So the idea is that the MPC only permits us to require, as Brent said, the developer to develop frontage improvements along their property. But if you remember correctly, the conditional use process, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court has said, you can go, that's not controlled by the saldo. You can go outside of the saldo in a conditional use hearing, but you have to have specific testimony. And so if one of those controversial developments comes in, Jim's office, other professionals can always appear on behalf of the township to testify, regarding the necessity for those kinds of improvements, and you can go outside of the MPC in a conditional use process, and that's why many of those uses we've looked at and made them, conditional uses. So you have the ability to do that.
And it does not stop us from voluntarily working with a developer on certain things.
Makes them more willing to.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we've pretty much held those developing in the township to a pretty strenuous standard of what they need to do to make improvements in the community. But that's pretty much as a summary. We've gone through, we've updated the use table, there's specific criteria. We've made sure that we don't provide any uses that would be undesirable the best we can because they're provided elsewhere. You're really gonna see a lot of low-impact housing in the township. You're not gonna see any apartments, anything like that. There could be potential for mixed-use villages in the township where we have seen proposals in the past, but without public sewer, those really don't go far. And then the other question is, how far do you want to go with density? That's always the big issue. So one of the things we did talk about was the conservation subdivision. That's not in here. We do have some mechanisms for some of the issues that have come up with certain uses today with large water draws, developers proposing the amount of wells. If it's over 10,000 gallons a day, they have to do a study under zoning. So there's a lot of good that has come out of this, incorporating it, and I think it's going to take us into the next 40 years because our original ordinance was built out in 71 and we amended it in 83, and it's worked well to some degree, but we're now at the point where we have so many amendments and other things that it's not always user-friendly to use and even amend. As we try to work with developers on certain things, it becomes convoluted. But we also deal with the utility aspect of essential services and other things that were there. Otherwise, if you have time to review it, I will try to get you some summaries and I will do a full presentation on it for your next meeting. And we'll record it and send it to Mark on his cruise.
Then at the end of that meeting, we could possibly set a date, right?
If there's nothing substantial that you guys would have, we could start scheduling the hearing. We have 45 days that has to go to both the county planning commission, the local planning commission, and then we can schedule the hearing. You may at the hearing have people come in and oppose portions where you might not take action on it. But right now, I think we are looking at time frame wise, either the end of October, beginning of November. So we may have to look, if we get to November, at scheduling a special meeting, because we only have one, and that's usually our budget time. Because I don't want to have a 4-hour meeting.
We gotta get this done.
So, but it's at the point where I think it addresses it.
I'll take a 4-hour meeting. No, we have to get it done.
No, I agree.
Quicker the better. I just pity the employee at the MPCs that's gonna get 400 pages thrown on their desk and ask them, hey, review this.
They didn't know what they were getting when they got these guys.
We have to go through it.
All right, that is all for that. The last item we have on the agenda is recommendation to approve recruitment and retention release for Q2. We're looking at $12,310, which is part of the budgeted amount for recruitment and retention. If there's no questions, we'd be looking at a motion to approve the release of that amount to the incentive fund.
So moved.
I'll second.
The motion was made by Mark, seconded by Lou. Any further questions? Roll call.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Mr. Cruz?
Yes.
Ms. Hunsinger?
Yes.
Mr. Schwartz?
Yes.
Mr. Union?
Yes, motion passes. Okay, moving into staff reports.
I do have something. We are full-blown in projects right now. If you've driven past the Jacksonville Park, they've started the basketball, pickleball court, and walking paths. We did have a slight snafu with, there's 3 feet of topsoil in the ground where we thought we would hit solid material. So I don't know why we have so much topsoil there, but it looks like after they built the court, they just leveled it out. So we will see a change order on that probably at your next meeting. We're trying to work with the contractor on it and come up with a solution that we can build a solid court. But that has moved forward. Today we had the pre-construction meeting for the Public Works storage building. Our Public Works Department has removed the existing building completely. They did an excellent job with it. But those trades met today. You may see some change order recommendations, potentially relating to the electric service, garage doors, and trench drains. I'm not sure how they're handling it, but the recommendation of the 3 trades that were there, we had individual trains that were there. They're recommending that each bay has its own trench drain. So you'll see something with that going forward, but right now we're moving forward with those projects. The other project that you'll be seeing next meeting is a recommendation to go out for bid for Pavilion C's replacement. So we're looking at getting that out and awarding it at the beginning of October and hopefully doing construction over winter for that pavilion. So a lot going on with various items.
They also started on Township Line Road.
Correct. They've started milling on it. I don't think there's any issues on our side. They did hit a manhole of some sort in Lower Nazareth. It was paved over.
It was paved over.
Milling machine completely ripped it apart. I've never seen it.
Why was it there? I know where they're milling.
Yeah, it was across from your brother's house that, in that area. Somebody had stormwater that came over to the road. But, no, right now they're looking at it. Jim,
No, there's Easton Water in there.
Easton Suburban. It's not water. It's definitely a steel manhole cover. But Jim, they're looking at wrapping it up before the end of the month for Township Line.
Well, they're hopeful to do that, yeah. I mean, they made a lot of progress in just the initial few days.
Correct. Good. Yeah, I think it's pretty much all milled out at this point.
Excellent.
Well, I wouldn't call it milled. I mean, there wasn't really much to mill.
They moved the stones around.
That's why it went so fast.
There was a reason it's going as fast as it is.
You cut butter really good.
Exactly.
Other than that, I have nothing else.
All right. Secretary, have anything?
Good, thanks.
All right. Treasurers, you have their report, or have her report, I should say. Comments, questions on that? Tax collector has nothing, solicitor,
Nothing.
nothing, engineer, he sent the report.
I apologize for getting it out so late. The week got away from me. The only thing I wanted to mention in addition to what we did is if anybody hasn't been over in the Jacksonville Road Bridge, the plate was placed by Public Works. I'd like to just mention that I was really thrilled to see that our Public Works and the Hanover Township Public Works crews worked together. They did a great job out there. I was out there to observe and the placement of the plate. The plate is down, the delineators are up, reducing the lane width, and the bridges, we put signage up for a lower speed limit and warnings of narrow bridge. And the follow-up PennDOT inspection should be later this month.
Those signs will work.
That's what everybody tells me.
Until you hit them.
Okay.
I like that the delineators are flexible when I hit them and just move over.
Yeah, they just move on.
Anything for the engineer? Thank you, Jim. Public Works, we have their report. Any questions?
They sounded busy with a lot of storms.
Planning Commission,
We have more storms this year than what is usual and more
Yeah.
trees coming down.
Yeah.
Should have their agenda from,
yeah, Planning
August.
Commission, we have their agenda. Zoning, we have their report, monthly report from zoning.
just as a heads up on zoning, I'm gonna ask them to do a report when it comes to notice of violations or complaints.
Thursday, I guess.
So you have a summary of where they're at, how many are filed, how many have been closed. I know we have 2 hearings that have been continued that we've been working with the property owner on, but there are 2 issues that, one, we have not been able to successfully get a hold of the property owner, and they keep getting fines levied in the amount of, what was it, 20,000? And they don't show up for the hearing, so.
Yeah.
And then the other one
Can't
was a
find it.
property on Airport Road that we had filed. We have now got it served, and they pled not guilty. So she is making progress on some of those, but I will get you a report in addition to your monthly permits that show what's been open, what's closed, and what's kind of outstanding, so you have it.
That would be great.
And I'm assuming that the board still would like Jim and I to attend the zoning hearing board meeting that was continued, that's coming up this Thursday,
Yes.
next week, okay. Do we take an official position, or are we there to simply, ask questions, ascertain what it is? I mean, do we?
That's a good question.
I think the general consensus that when we were kind of discussing this, we wanted to have them present if anything was testified that would have an impact on the neighboring properties. I don't think it was really a opposition. They have amended their application that there's no outdoor storage.
Okay,
That was
good.
the
But
big
those
thing I was
things
gonna
that,
pose.
we just want to make sure, I think the intent is that there's reasonable conditions imposed in the event they could have an impact on the school, the neighboring homes across the street.
Does that have something to do with the conservation district too?
Well, that's where the
It is in the
relief is being
conservation.
requested in that district.
So it's kind of confusing their application. They've just used the conservation district. It's really a variance to allow for a use that's not permitted. The conservation district has limited uses. I don't know why they have gone the route they have with the variance. This would be a non-conforming structure. They would be able to do a special exception to change to another non-conforming use on the property. Why they didn't go that route and they went for a variance, the burden is gonna be pretty difficult for them, but
It says it's a farm, but it's not really a farm, it's a
no,
company.
the
is that what it
business
is?
name is Washington Farms LLC.
That's just the name of the business.
Oh, but it is a pallet company? Is that
It's a
what it is?
pallet company that does remanufacturing of pallets.
Wasn't that something that was supposed to be a non-profit going in there at one time?
Operation of machine.
I don't know.
Delivery,
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, at this point, they've made an application. The current owner is looking at filing the variance so that he can sell the property to this company. It's conditioned on them getting zoning relief, whether they're successful or not. But I guess the question is, do you want to have active opposition? You want to see what the application proposes in the testimony? I think they just want to have direction.
No, I understand what they're asking.
Yeah, I mean, I think we would certainly question, the type of traffic, the size trucks that would be, what time of day they're gonna be there, what the intensity is going to be. We wanna talk about the operation of machinery on site, whether or not there's gonna be any doors or windows that are gonna be open, even though they're talking about doing things inside. Hours of operation, it is next to a school, so those are called attractive nuisances. Kids find their way to machinery, kids find their way to buildings that, aren't always occupied, things of that sort. So if there's anything in addition to that, you have any specific concerns about, Jim and I, as the hearing unfolds, there's certain things that'll come up that we'll certainly address and make sure that we let the zoning hearing board
Are
know.
they changing the size or anything of the building?
I don't believe they are. I don't think their application is for any extensions of the building. It's just the particular use that they're looking for.
Our original concern was predominantly, the outdoor storage and the
And also truck generation. that
Truck
could be there,
generation,
And just so the
forklifts.
engineer knows, that property has an artesian well that is overpressurized and has runoff going to the creek. So if anything gets changed or disturbed over that well, you gotta make sure that there's still adequate runoff done if they're gonna do anything outside, because you'll develop a sinkhole.
Well, and that's the other thing too. I mean, we want to make sure that there's no chemicals used on site or anything
Right.
like that that could potentially be
Because
a
that goes
contamination factor.
Goes into the Caddy Creek.
Okay, we understand.
Artesian well, that's an artesian geyser.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, FRCA?
I guess they just had a wish list of different things they were buying that they needed, and we approved all that, and then we'll have a meeting next month. I did talk to them about opening Saturday, and they weren't really up to it, because I heard a lot of people say, well, we're off on Saturdays, I'd like to take my stuff there, but they're not open. But I guess that's still in a wash.
Did you see mine?
It's built for residential, but they're not residential conducive.
Correct.
No.
I went to Fricka on a Saturday that they were open, and I went 3 times with the brush I had, and I had no trouble.
On a Saturday recently?
It's
first and
whatever,
third
the
They're not
first,
open
yeah, the
Saturday
first,
anymore.
the first Saturday.
They're not open.
They're not open Saturdays anymore at all.
Well, I went when they were.
Yeah, but now they
Well, that
changed.
I didn't know they changed
Then no
it.
problem.
Sorry, I didn't know they changed
Yeah,
it.
they changed it now.
Yeah, I think one of the issues that has always been kind of reoccurring is with the facility, that is our drop-off site.
Yes.
And I also believe that sometimes they want us to have our own drop-off site, that we're not using the FRCA
Yeah.
itself as the drop-off site. And I don't know if it's something we want to look at exploring. I think that was part of how we went out
That's
and
why we did it.
have the property and went through everything.
Right.
But it's definitely, they have an issue with it. I think also we get a lot more tonnage that is accrued to East Allen Township, but I don't think it's actually East Allen Township residents. I think it's whoever just comes to the drop-off site.
And it's not really that busy anymore either, and that's why I said, why couldn't they be open on a Saturday, but,
Yeah,
I don't know.
something to look at.
I had a lot of trees come down, so I went down on one of the regular Thursdays or whatever it is too, and like I said, no trouble. Everything was fine.
Yeah, that changed, now the hour.
Okay. Ambulance, we have the report.
They went on 60 calls in East Allen Township, and overall, in the 10 areas they cover, they had 644 emergencies in July. 60 of them were here.
Are they still running 3 units?
Yes and no.
Okay.
One is a really offset time. It's
Yeah,
not like,
it's a variable.
Yeah, yeah.
They're still continuing that, though. I know they said it was pretty successful, that they were gonna continue it.
Yep, and their staffing level is back up. The ones that left, they got new hires in to replace, and they're operating very well.
Okay, fire department. We have three different items under fire department. Do we have anything to add?
Sure. I believe you received a letter from our presentation that we did last month. If you could take the time to review that and probably give us some answers.
We can't hear you.
Give us some answers on the, we sent you a letter. I believe you received it.
I was not sent to them yet.
Okay. Oh,
But yeah, it will
that
be.
explains it. Well, anyway, there's some topics that we discussed at the presentation that we do need answers for. So we're looking at, if you get a chance to review them, I think one of the top ones would be what you were paying for, so we know what bills to submit to the township. I think we discussed that.
Right.
And there's a few other ones with trucks and stuff of that nature. So if we could get that squared away, we can get out of your hair and move forward with what we need to do down there.
You're never in our hair.
I was thinking the same.
Did you send a letter, Justin?
I want to know what you need to do to
No.
attract all the people.
You don't want to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything open space, River Central, or Historical Society?
Well, River Central, you got Historic Society, we're finalizing the website. Our meeting's coming up. And open space, we're waiting to have a meeting
So I think,
scheduled, so
Jim,
we can review
on
and
open
implement
space,
it.
you provided comments on the plan to Jason.
Yes.
Were those comments ever addressed, or?
It's my understanding they were, but I haven't seen the revised
Okay,
document.
because I think that's the only thing, we may have to reach out to him, and then we can schedule our meeting with everybody, do the final presentation, and do a recommendation. We will work on drafting the ordinance for the committee, for the open space, for the program, but I believe that we were just working through the final editing comments, and that was it. I remember we had 3 different agencies looking at it, and now it's just a matter of scheduling. And then River Central, I'd like to just take it off the agenda now. At this point, there's nothing forward to, once we adopt the ordinance, we're not going to be meeting regularly. We can just incorporate that into your actual supervisor's business, if you guys are okay with that.
Fine with me.
How about you?
I'm good.
Sorry.
Okay.
Excuse me.
The board have anything?
How about the Historic Society? Did we do that?
Yeah, you talked about the
We did
website
that.
going
Yeah,
over.
the
Website.
website.
A website, okay, I missed that.
And our meeting's coming up,
I know.
just letting you know now.
Thank you.
Under correspondence, we have a notice of a public hearing.
On the 19th.
We have from Farmland Preservation.
Yeah, just their annual,
Yep.
and then they have a permit
New
renewal.
Enterprises for a DEP permit. And we're back to public comment. Any public comment? Any subject you want.
Chuck Althauser again. First, thank you for your consideration, and it's obvious that you all were interested in seeing the best you could do to help protect our interests, and that's all we can ask. But I would also like to comment about the stress we felt in trying to respond to this notice we got 2 days ago of this application. You know, the association is the owner of the land now, and so we're very much concerned with anything that happens relative to the property, over which we have this fiduciary duty to maintain and to preserve. So when we get a notice 2 days before that this application was going to be made, we rushed, and I was up till late at night preparing the letter that we delivered it the very next morning, and then I come and I find out it wasn't received by any of you, which is disturbing. We emailed it with the package that showed the update of the punch list, for instance, and none of you saw it. So that's unsettling, and I'd like to address, is there a solution to that? And also to suggest that where you have a subject matter that is affecting a property owner, that property owner should receive some kind of notice, much greater than 2 days, because it really was more than what we could reasonably respond to in that time period. That's part of the reason why these people were so upset and excited, is because snap, you're hearing about something come up 2 days later, and they're upset about conditions at the property already. So when they hear, well, toll's coming in and looking for the final release of all the money, it's upsetting. And so you can understand why people show up. So I would encourage you to look, is there some mechanism you could utilize that would give more advanced notice to the association when their interests are being affected? And thirdly, could we get the engineer's report delivered by email, some of the methods prior to arrival, so that we have some idea what the subject is that you've discussed? It's really a situation that you could remedy with some effort, and I appreciate it if you do that.
Okay. Point taken. Any more public comment? Yes, sir.
Jeff Hudwalker, 7014 Pond Way in Bath. We just, and I've been in contact with Brent about this in the past. This was the installation of fire sprinkler pipe in attics in the townhomes, otherwise known as carriage homes in the Rackham community. They were all installed in the attics, which is against the code because all of that pipe, it's a wet system, sprinkler system, which should all be installed in conditioned space. And it was actually shown that way on the sprinkler shop drawings or design drawings that were sent to East Allen Township and approved by East Allen. And there's another detail that can be used, which is called tenting, where you install a piece of plastic over the pipe that is adjacent to the ceiling on the attic side of the ceiling, and drape insulation, bats of insulation over the top of it to trap the heat from the conditioned space below to keep the pipes from freezing. Well, we had one of our carriage homes had a pipe freeze, and it basically destroyed their whole first floor. And those residents were out of their home for a couple of months while it was being repaired. So we got nervous about this. We embarked on an inspection program. 22 people got involved in this, and we had a home inspector come out and look at the pipes in the attic to see if they did get the tenting, because that is an approved detail from NFPA 13D. And out of the 22, 20 of them were done incorrectly. It was missing, or it was just done incorrectly. So we put all that together into a Google file, and that is going to Toll Brothers tomorrow, all those inspection reports. I've copied Brent on it. Brent, you'll get an email on this tomorrow.
Yeah, and I also have, just for your information, I forwarded that to the building inspection firm, that it's something that they have to pay attention to.
Was that Barry I set?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're ultimately responsible for the building plan reviews, the approvals, and the inspections.
Well, this is what I would like to propose in consideration of that, because C of Os were issued on every one of those 54 homes. And it's very possible that most of them were not installed correctly to prevent freezing pipes. So, and I think, Marty's going to talk about this too. Very important thing is that if Toll does come in and mitigates this problem, that someone comes in and verifies that, representing the homeowner, that they're getting what they're supposed to get, because we didn't get it the first time. And it was on the drawings, these details, this tenting detail, it was on the sprinkler drawings. They were stamped by East Allen Township and approved, and they should have been built that way, and they weren't. And whoever was inspecting it should have seen this and brought it to Toll's attention. So my proposal is that maybe Barry Isett should come out when they're doing this mitigation and verify that it's being done correctly. I don't know if they'll do that, or whether you can force them to, but it's...
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out a way that so typically they only do inspections when we have a permit. The applicant pays for the inspections. You've already been issued a CO for the home that you're okay occupying it. It probably is better to make sure that it's done to your standards, to have the home inspector that you had come in and verify and oversee that work. Just for that your own, I mean, we're going to look at it for the plans, but I don't know after the permit's been issued and closed out, the mechanism to get them out and look at it again.
Maybe they should be made to pull another permit to do that work. And then you would charge them for the, because it's really not, it's their fault for not building it right.
Yeah, I'm not disputing any of that. I just don't know if the tenting would require a permit. And it
Okay.
sounds like it was required originally. I'm just trying to figure out.
It was part of the overall.
Yeah,
building
the
permit to build
issue a
them.
permit at this point, there's nothing in our system
Okay.
that would
Allow that.
I mean,
worry.
we can review whatever they're proposing and make sure, but we're not really going to go out and issue a permit to do an inspection. Like, I don't think the tenting under the building code would require an inspection for us. But you obviously want to make sure that it was installed properly.
Yes.
So,
Well,
I can talk with the third party and see what their position is.
Needless to say, we would appreciate any support you could give us on
Yeah.
this.
No, I understood. I'll reach out to the
With
third party and speak to the operations manager and see.
Okay.
Just let them know that it wasn't done properly.
I've already notified them that
Yeah.
this has been an issue that's been brought light, and they were gonna review their processes and their inspections to see if they could identify notes and other things to correct this so it doesn't happen again. But as for the construction being completed properly, I don't know how they're gonna handle that. So I will talk with him tomorrow.
Well, you'll get the copy of the letter that's going to Toll tomorrow, and along with all the files of the inspection reports, so, thank you.
So, we were there for this incident, which obviously poses a problem over that neck of the woods. How many buildings is it? that is not-
54 homes.
And how many are not done correctly?
54.
There were
There were
22 that got inspected.
Yeah.
Mine was one of them, which is why I was going to talk.
So, then
So
that's not-
of those 22, only 2 were found to not have any defects. So the vast majority of those sampled and inspected were not appropriate.
That, you know, you could, if it was 1 or 2.
It's not.
Think of that.
It's over
We're
20.
using a third-party agency paying a fund to them, and that many homes are affected?
We've, the homeowners who did have the inspections done, I'm Marty Chamberlain. I'm on Planning Commission, but I'm speaking for myself. Cedar Drive. The homeowners who had elected to have the inspections, and I was one of them, even though I had pre-drywall photos of all the piping, they found some stuff that I didn't see, because I didn't happen to catch it. But we paid for those. Each of us paid out of our own pocket to have someone come in and inspect, and he couldn't fully inspect because almost everywhere there were issues that he saw in my place were under way too much blown-in insulation. I mean, I'm talking 3 feet of blown-in insulation in unconditioned spaces. He can't see everything. So if we were going to have someone come in and truly inspect all of them, they'd have to suck all that, vacuum out all that insulation out to be able to just see the piping. And that's
gonna be a heck of a
it's gonna
job.
be a heck of a job for us to undertake. The real concern that I had though was, I'm in a triple unit, so there's 3 units. We're on an end. The one that you visited, unfortunately, for those people who had that tragedy, we had joined them. We're on one of the ends. Luckily, we didn't have any damage, but you can understand that we're concerned. It is August. My guess is this is not going to get resolved before freeze time. So what am I going to do? Do I drain the system and not have a fire suppression system when by code I should? Does that cause me any problems with my insurance, with liability for the next door neighbor because I don't have my fire suppression system in working order? It's a serious issue. And frankly, I'm incensed. And I can point to a raft of other warranty issues that Toll had to come in and fix. 2 of them, just in this last, I'll say 18-month period, were frozen pipes or condensation on an exterior wall where they didn't insulate correctly.
Those are on domestic water pipes, right?
And those are on domestic water pipes. So Toll seems to have a problem with quality control. It's pretty bad. So keep that in mind also with that previous topic. So that's all I had to say, is I would appreciate anything that you all might legally be able to do to help. I know you're limited, but thanks for listening.
Thank you. Last call, public comment. We can't adjourn, Georgianne just left.
She's never gonna sit here.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion made by Mark, seconded by Chris. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Go home.
Somebody's gonna have to walk through again, I know the meeting's over.
No,
No, just lock it up, turn all the lights up.
Yeah.
Lock it up, turn all the lights up.
She'll figure it out.
Yep.
That's a little presumptuous.
Thank you.
My wife said, I should read the last. Drive by your place all the
Oh, you
time.
missed it.
Good stop.